Greetings, comrades. Welcome to All Power to the People podcast on Grown Folks Talking, Express Yourself Internet Radio via the Huddle Team app. We meet every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We discuss local, national, and global events that impact the material conditions of the people and provide viable solutions. We are here to find those tired of the way their lives are socially constructed. As Panthers, we use dialectic materialism. As Dr. Huey P. Newton stated, power is the ability to define phenomena and make it act in a desired manner. From combating the housing crisis to police patrols, we are the vanguard in place to serve our communities. The purpose of this program is to highlight contradictions in the electoral process, which Western culture calls politics. Politics is the struggle for resources. Participating in America's electoral process has only taken resources from the people and handed it to the oligarchs and the professional managerial class that serve them by maintaining the status quo through coercion. We know that power lies with the people, and it is our duty to organize and educate the community so that they can fight for their own liberation. So please, join us every Sunday at 12 p.m. You can join by downloading the Huddle Team app, join online, or call in. The app and joining online is free, but if you call in, standard messaging rates may apply. Links to the show will be provided in the caption. This is General Secretary Patience of the new Afrikan Black Panther Party, NAB-PP North. All power to the people.
I'll be having conversation with people, and they'll be like, so what do we do? What is our option? How do we change our material conditions? How do we change the reality around us? I mean, you can't do that. This is from our food program. I mean, so that's why I'm starting off like this, to show everybody like the things that you could do in the community. As Panthers, we come together in North to get this food to go out and give to the families that are starving. We all know, if we live in these communities, we know how hard times are. We're all going through it. We eat the same food too. We take the food in our home and we put them in our bellies. This is our during the school year, all year round. We don't have enough money to go build a school to be able to bring in all these children and stuff. We don't have all of that. But we can create an after-school program. And this is one of the ways we bring the kids in with the after-school program so they could come in for us to give them that knowledge, to teach them, and try to help guide them through this reality, through this world. Hey, you say they teach you about 9/11 in school?
Yeah.
What they teach you about 9/11? Why did the plane hit the buildings? You got to say it loud enough so I can hear you.
The Muslim airjacked the plane and then they crashed shit into the Twin Towers.
That's what they taught you, that the Muslims hijacked the plane?
They didn't talk.
That's okay. That's okay. Relax.
The plane crashed into the Twin Towers.
But why did they crash into the Twin Towers? They didn't. Anybody? Hey, what you were saying, Major?
I also know that they crashed into the woods.
Hold up. Let Major speak. What'd you say, Major?
My teacher told me that there was hijackers on a plane, and then when they crashed it, left the plane, and there was more hijackers on the other plane, and they crashed into that. That's what Towers again.
But why did they crash into the Twin Towers?
Because they wanted to go to New York.
So they crashed into the Twin Towers to go to New York. They died to go to New York.
They wanted to. The hijackers wanted to go to New York, but then they crashed into the Twin Towers.
Oh, they wanted to go land in New York, but they crashed in the Twin Towers. So anybody else got saying to add? Archie, you got saying to add?
I know.
What you want to add?
That the other planes got airjacked and then they crashed into different places.
That's it?
Yeah.
So nobody can tell me why the planes crashed? Why the planes did that? Nobody can tell me? But don't you think the school should tell you why?
Yes. Yeah.
So like, if the school not telling you why, what does that mean?
They keep it secret.
Wow.
It's gatekeeping.
Whoa, where you get gatekeeping from, bro?
I said gates.
But where you learn that at?
TikTok. It's
You say me? you
said
burnt.
TikTok.
You burnt out, yo. You burnt out. Nah, but the reason why they crashed into the into the Twin Towers is because the American government, America was going to their country, taking their natural resources, stealing their stuff, killing their people. So they got mad. They stole a plane and they came and crashed it on the World Trade Center to get back at America. That's why they did it.
So it wasn't 2 planes then?
No, it wasn't one plane. I think it was 2 or 3. Was it? I think it was one. Was no? I think there was one in DC and there was one in Philly or something like that.
So
That did.
Two inside the Twin
Yeah, huh?
So I basically got it right then.
There was
What
one
did-
inside Twin Towers, and then another one tried to crash into the place that Trump lives in.
The Trump Tower? There ain't no plane try to go to the Trump Tower. The White House?
The White House.
Did the plane try to go to the White House?
No, the Pentagon. I think that's
The plane, one went to the Pentagon. But
Something like that.
But these people be lying. The media be lying. The politicians be lying. So you never know what's true. But why they really did it, they said because America was going over to their countries and they were killing their people. They were taking their resources and they were putting military bases in their country. So that's why they did it. I mean, that's why they went over there and did it and stuff. They call that blowback. Like when you go to another country and you do stuff to them and then they come back over here and do something, like they call that blowback.
it's like get back.
Yeah, it's like get back.
They should have did more. So imagine another country.
You said they should have did more?
They should have nuked them.
Then we gonna die. If they nuke us, we gonna die. I don't wanna die.
What if we wasn't alive at that time?
But we're going to continue this later, y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all. We're going to continue later. This is our summer basketball camp. It's going on right now. Every day from 9 to 1. We have this basketball camp that that the kids come out. Yo, it's all about organizing and finding ways to bring people out, bring the children out to be able to organize them. I mean, when you doing these things to bring the children in, to bring the community in, yo, you got to be serious. You can't be playing around with this. Yo, like when the kids come here, at the end of the summer, they're stronger, they're faster, they're quicker, and they know more about the game, about the sport than they did before. You know, we watch their minds develop every day. While we're talking about Pantherism, what do we do? What are the solutions? Yo, there's solutions here. I mean, the solutions is organizing our own community, creating an economic base where we can be able to feed ourselves, take care of ourselves without having to bow down to somebody else, without having to beg somebody else for our humanity. Yo, I refuse to go beg anybody to give me humanity. I will take my humanity by force. I understand I am not free. We understand we are not free as Panthers. There's no doubt in our mind if we are free or not. And you cannot hold anybody that's under oppression, that's under neocolonialism, responsible for how their life turned out, because they control no institution. I mean, I often hear people say, like, the drug dealers, the worst thing in our community is drug dealers, because they're stupid. They're ignorant. They haven't educated themselves to understand the world around them. So they just open their mouth and regurgitate whatever they heard somebody else say. You're a fool. If you believe anything out here is your fault or our fault. Seriously. And I'm telling you, I work with the community all day and all night. And I know how ignorant the community can be. But I don't blame the people for the conditions they find themselves in. They have nothing to do with how anything is done materially in this world. They're just bystanders. The people that I hold accountable is those that know, the intellectuals. That's supposed to know better, but continue to usher our people into institutions of white supremacy, of imperialism, that will continue to exploit us. Tell our people to go vote. What are you voting for? I mean, who are you voting for? Who do they serve? They don't serve the people. They won't serve the people, or they won't survive in those institutions.
Get your phone. It's my song.
What's your son?
Yo, for playing, huh?
Get some from. Get some. Let me see. Hold it out, Bobby. Mira. Hold it out. Let me see. Yeah. Hold up. You got it? You like it? There we go. There we go.
Wait, take you.
You're welcome. What's your name?
My name is Panther.
What position you play?
Like this.
Oh, pitcher. You're the pitcher. You're a pitcher. Your children out here?
No. I'm
No.
just watching.
Oh, you just watching? You
Yeah.
just watching too?
I like
My name Afrika.
Africa.
Africa.
Like the country.
Yeah, the continent. Continent.
Like
Yeah, continent. Hold up.
happy.
Huh?
Happy.
Yeah. I'll come every year. I'll bring more stuff.
Because there are a lot of times
I'll come. I'll bring everything every year. Yeah, we just started. We've come in with the organization. The organization,
New African Black Panther
party. So the Black Panther Party. So look, no politician, no rich person will take care of us. The only people that are going to take care of us is us. If we understand that all we need to do is take care of each other, we're going to be good. Yeah, so you notice how all the companies, all the stores is owned by the gringos, Canada, Switzerland. We need to own it. We need to own everything so soon. You need to own stuff in Susua. You need to own Bailey's. You need to own Roomba. Yeah, we need to own all of that shit. Not nobody else. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, man. But that's why I'm here. Everything we do is free. Everything is free. You don't pay. Yeah, you don't pay for nothing. I mean, this is my guy here. This is my guy, Subi. You know Subi? Yeah, this is my guy. He helped me out down here. I've been with this company for about 7 years, but it's been here since 1969. I'm the leader of the company. I'm the leader now of the organization. Yeah. So we come down. He's gonna be down here working down here in the organization for me. Yeah, he's gonna be here working here.
Also, do you visit Puerto Plata?
Yeah, Puerto Plata everywhere. I go everywhere. I stayed in.
I'm from Puerto Plata. I'm from the shore to
So you want to help me do this in Puerto Plata? I'm about to cut off the camera and I'm about to take your number. We're going to do the same thing. You know, the person that run the baseball, he helping me too.
I live next to a baseball.
Man, what's your name, man? Tell them your name, man.
My name is Brian. I'm teacher of natural science.
Natural science?
Natural science.
Oh, my God. I'm hitting a home run everywhere I go, man. Papi, mira. Good? You good? There we go. Biology? My God. Welcome to All Power to the People on Grow Folks Talk and Express Yourself. I am Chairman Africa, your host. Hey, see, I didn't mess it up today. I didn't say All Power to the People, and then I say Welcome to All Power to the People. Nah, but we're about to listen to chapter 3, or the rest of chapter 3. We listened to the other half last week. We're going to listen to the second half of the Philadelphia Negro, chapter 3. I'm about to put it on right now.
The 3. The Philadelphia Negro. Emancipation. 1760 to 1780. The years 1750 to 1760 marked the culmination of the slave system in Pennsylvania and the beginning of its decline. By that time, most shrewd observers saw that the institution was an economic failure and were consequently more disposed than formerly to listen to the earnest representations of the great anti-slavery agitators of that period.
Hey, hold up a second. Hold up a second. Hey, let me see who here right now. Hey, is Poppy in here? Hey, General Secretary. Hit Poppy up and tell Janai to get up in here. You heard me?
Yes.
Yeah, tell him to tell Janai and Paige to get up in here, because I need them to listen to this. Let me know what he say. But hey, how you doing, everybody? We listen to chapter 3, well, the second half of chapter 3 of the Philadelphia Negro. That's what we're listening to. I'm about to start it over from the beginning. I mean, I wish people would be here on time more promptly, because this stuff is important. We'll listen to it because it's important. I mean, you can't make decisions on how you're going to move if you don't understand the past and understand how we got here. I don't want anybody to miss what we're talking about, because, I hate talking to people and then they don't understand what I'm talking about. They don't know what I'm talking about. So it's like we really not on the same page. I mean, but I'm about to start it all over again. But hit them up. Tell them, let me know when they're in here.
The 3. The Philadelphia Negro, Emancipation, 1760 to 1780. The years 1750 to 1760 marked the culmination of the slave system in Pennsylvania and the beginning of its decline. By that time, most shrewd observers saw that the institution was an economic failure and were consequently more disposed than formerly to listen to their earnest representations of the great anti-slavery agitators of that period. There were, to be sure, strong vested interests still to be fought. When the 10-Pound Duty Act of 1761 was pending, the slave merchants of the city, including many respectable names, vigorously protested. Ever desirous to extend the trade of this province, they declared that they had, seen for some time, past the many inconveniencies that inhabitants have suffered for want of laborers and artificers, and had consequently, for some time, encouraged the importation of Negroes. They prayed at the very least for delay in passing this restrictive measure. After debate and altercation with the governor, the measure finally passed, indicating renewed strength and determination on the part of the abolition party. Meantime, voluntary emancipation increased. Sandiford emancipated his slaves in 1733, and there were, by 1790, in Philadelphia, about 1,000 black freedmen. A school for these and others was started in 1770 at the instance of Benazet, and had at first.
See, if you missed last week, if you're not paying attention, you're really not going to be following along to understand what they're talking about. Last week in the first half of chapter 3, he was talking about the Quakers and their involvement in the liberation of, the freedom of black people, the emancipation of black people. But in chapter 2, he was talking about if you wanted to understand the conditions of black people in Philadelphia at that time, you had to go back in history and do a history of research their history, because the book was written in the 1890s. He's talking about the 1700s right here. I mean, because he's going back. I mean, to let you know what happened for the present, for what's going on, the material condition that was going on in the 1890s to be going on at that time. So when he's talking about Benazet and all his children and the emancipation of the slaves, he's going back. This was before. This is what 65 is when the Civil War ended. He's going back. This is 100 years. Going back 1730, 1750. That's 100 years before the Civil War. So he's saying in Philadelphia, as early as this date, they were freeing black people, and there were black people that were in society. They were free black people, and he's going to explain what those free black people did after they were free, and who were these free black people that he was talking about. So, pay attention to that. Who are these free black people? What class are they in? Who are they? How did they become free? Pay attention to all of that. Who freed them? Who had them as slaves?
22 children in attendance. The war brought a broader and kindlier feeling toward the Negroes. Before its end, the Quakers had ordered manumission, and several attempts were made to prohibit slavery by statute. Finally, in 1780, the Act for the Gradual Abolition of Slavery was passed. This act, beginning with a strong condemnation of slavery, provided that no child thereafter born in Pennsylvania should be enslaved. The children of slaves born after 1780 were to be bond servants until 28 years of age. That is, beginning with the year 1808, there was to be a series of emancipations. Side by side with this growth of emancipation sentiment with an increase in the custom of hiring out Negro slaves and servants, which increased the old competition with the whites.
Because like that's some of the stuff that they don't talk about when you learned about slavery, when they talk about slavery in school, when popular culture talk about slavery, they never really talk about like how it impacted everybody, how it impacted white people, how it impacted the economy at that time. Because it was white people that was free. It was people that were free that saw slavery the same way people look at immigration now, the cheap labor.
Yes, sorry to interrupt, but Janai is
Oh, okay, Janai here. All power to the people. That's what's up. I need them to really pay attention. I mean, because this is big. These conversations that we're having, to those of you that are coming out of college, that's graduating college, that's going into the workforce, that's now you're going to be paying bills out here as an adulting. This is big. What we're going through right here. So I love history because history explains to me everything that I'm seeing outside. I mean, the more history I consume, the more I'm able to understand the world around me. I mean, so this is, if you really listen to this, it could carry you the rest of your life, the information that you get from this. But we're listening to W.E.B. Du Bois. I mean, we're listening to him in his own words. This is the Philadelphia Negro. And you have to remember, this is his first book. Not his first book, but his first like real work that became prominent, that everybody know about, that we still talk about. Over 100 years later, we're still talking about it. This is like his magnum opus, however you want to call it. But like, this is huge right here, to understand our condition as black people in the society. I mean, what we can do to be able to navigate this system. This book was huge, but you have to remember, this was early on. This was the beginning of his career, because at the end of his life, like everything that he saw that he wrote about, the things he talked about in here, like the way how he saw we needed to move to be able to survive in the society. All of that radically changed later on as he got older, as he became more mature, got more information, went through all those institutions that he created, like the NAACP that he was part of creating, went through all of them and saw how they worked practically. After, like, first of it has to formulate in your mind all these ideas of what we need to do to liberate ourselves. All these things formulate in your mind, and you got to go put it to practice. Then when you put it to practice, you see how it work out in real life. And sometimes it don't work out the way you thought it was going to work out. I mean, and he ended up dying outside the country. He basically gave up on all of it. Everything that he's talking about in here, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. But who is he talking about? Who are these people? I mean, who are these people that he's talking about? How did these people become free? Who freed these people? Why were they free? It's something that happened on here. I can't wait till we get to it so I could talk about it. Like, I don't know if they still got the answer to that till today, but he said he didn't know the answer. But I doubt if we still know the answer now. But it still happened today. And we're going to get into that in a second.
The slaves were owned in small lots, especially in Philadelphia, 1 or 2 to a family, and were used either as house servants or artisans. As a result, they were encouraged to learn trades and seem to have had the largest share of the ordinary trades of the city in their hands. Many of the slaves in the better families became well-known characters, as Alice, who for 40 years took the tolls at Dunk's Ferry, Virgil Warder, who once belonged to Thomas Penn, and Robert Venable, a man of some intelligence. The Rise of the Freedman, 1780 to 1820. A careful study of the process and effects of emancipation in the different states of the Union would throw much light on our national experiment and its ensuing problems. Especially is this true of the experiments in Pennsylvania. To be sure, emancipation here was gradual, and the number emancipated small in comparison with the population. And yet, the main facts are similar. The freeing of ignorant slaves and giving them a chance, almost unaided from without, to make a way in the world. The first result was widespread poverty and idleness. This was followed as the number of freedmen increased by a rush to the city. Between 1790 and 1800, the Negro population of Philadelphia County increased from 2,489 to 6,880, or 176%, against an increase of 43% among the whites. The first result of this contact with city life was to stimulate the talented and aspiring freedmen. And this was the easier because the freedman had in Philadelphia at that time a secure economic foothold. He performed all kinds of domestic service, all common labor, and much of the skilled labor. The group being thus secure in its daily bread needed only leadership to make some advance in general culture and social effectiveness. Some sporadic cases of talent occur, as Durham, the Negro physician, whom Dr. Benjamin Rush in 1788 found very learned. Especially, however, to be noted are Richard Allen, a former slave of the True family, and Absalom Jones, a Delaware Negro. These two were real leaders and actually succeeded to a remarkable degree in organizing the freedmen for group action. Both have bought their own freedom and that of their families by hiring their time. Allen being a blacksmith by trade, and Jones also having a trade. When, in 1792, the terrible epidemic drove Philadelphians away so quickly that many did not remain to bury the dead, Jones and Allen quietly took the work in hand, spending some of their own funds and doing so well that they were publicly commended by Mayor Clarkson in 1794.
So the people he's talking about, these are black people. These are black people that were freed in the 1700s, late 1700s. They were freed by their Quaker owners. Those are the people that he's talking about that were the leader of the of black people at that time, of the community. And once they became free, he's explaining after they became free, like the organizations that they built. That's what he's about to go into. I mean, he's about to, because like the masses of the people that were free, when they became free at that time, there was really nothing for them to do. I mean, most of them, like after they freed them, like what are you going to do? You've been on the slave plantation the whole time. You don't have no money. You don't have nothing. You don't have no job. Like how are you going to take care of yourself? You don't have no farm. You don't have nothing. So they were saying that these people spend a lot of their time outside doing participating in illegal activities, whatever you think of people doing out here, being outside. I mean, selling drugs, doing all these activities, prostitution. That's what he's saying. Most of the people were into because they had no access to anything. But a certain few of them, because they lived with these families, and the people that he's talking about, these characters he's talking about, what's his name, John Abs, whatever his name is, Jones. All these people, like they live with. Let me read what you call it. This is what he said about Absalom Jones, African-American abolitionist and clergyman who became prominent in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Disappointed at the racial discrimination he experienced in a local Methodist church, he founded the Free African Society and Richard Allen in 1787, a mutual aid society for African Americans in the city. The Free African Society included many people newly freed from slavery after the American Revolutionary War. When they first became free, they created the Freedmen's the Freedmen's Organization, and they worked with other freedmen. I mean, to be able to find ways for them to survive in this system, in this society. I mean, he's going, because like I told you, the book was written in the 1890s. He's going back to the 1700s to tell you like all the blocks and stuff that was put in place for all to when they got to where he was at, what he was writing about, which was poverty still. Because remember, they're in 1794, and they're just becoming free, and they're going to now organize a society where it's going to be able to suit, I guess, black people, because he's saying they're leaders for black people. I mean, but when they became free, they're about to tell you. You about to listen. You about to hear them right now. See it in their own words. When they became free, what they fought for. Let's see.
The great work of these men, however, lay among their own race and arose from religious difficulties. As in other colonies, the process by which the Negro slaves learned the English tongue and were converted to Christianity is not clear. The subject of the moral instruction of slaves had early troubled Penn, and he had urged friends to provide meetings for them.
Hey, yo, like, no, let me go
and
back.
Were converted to be commended, not remain to bury the dead. Jones and Allen quietly.
Hey, yo, that plague, it was a plague in 1790 something. Let me see, I have it here. Give me a second, y'all. Give me a second. Yeah, I think 1792. The plague was in 1792. Let me see what it say about the plague. Come on, bro. Give me a second, y'all. Let me see, the following year, 1793, that saw the major outbreak. This epidemic resulted in approximately 5,000 deaths, representing about 10% of the city's population at the time. The outbreak was severe, prompting a mass exodus of residents and causing collapse of the city's government. It was a yellow fever epidemic. Let me see. Epidemic triggered. It triggered a mass exodus, which was city. I think the president left. Even the president left. Let me see. But yeah, even the president left. But these black people, I mean, that was there. They were raised by these slave masters, these prominent slave masters that educated them. And when they became free, like some of them were doctors, they knew different things. Earlier, when he was speaking, when Du Bois was speaking, he said when all these people became free, like the crime, the poverty, everything, because they didn't have the tools, the resources needed for them to be able to survive. They were few. There's always an elite. There's always an elite group amongst black people, the ones that are closer to master, that have that access to master, and master probably feel favored to them, maybe because they're his own kids. We don't know. But anyway, they treat them different. They teach them, and these ones, these group of the talented 10th, this group of black folks, I mean, they organize, and they're the ones, according to Du Bois, that we're supposed to look to as leaders. They're always here. They've been here. They're here till even right now. When you talk about leaders, like people talk about people that got money, they talk about celebrities. I mean, like, now they talk about celebrities. Back then, it used to be preachers, pastors, and stuff like that. They were the one that basically spoke for the whole community, because what they said is what the institutions basically did. Well, what the institutions told them to say is what they usually did, and they usually supported the institutions. So they got the rest of us to support the institutions, and then give us these ideas that that never benefited us. I was about to say that we're not going to benefit us, but we see it now. Those ideas that they came with, whether it be voting, whether it be going to go fight in the military, whatever it is, I mean, it never benefited us. It never liberated us, because all these ideas are meant to be controlled inside the social construct that we live in, that they've created, that the imperialists have created. Those who control the society with the money, the society that they've created, the social construct that they've created, that is what we're going to live under. And the only rules that we get, the only help or solutions we get are those that are going to maintain the status quo, not overthrow it or change it. So these ideas they've always brought to us have always added up to nothing. They're going nowhere. And you're about to listen more and see what they came up with. But listen to what these dudes was doing. Yo, there was a pandemic. They're like there's a pandemic now. And these black people stayed behind. They used their own money, their own resources to be able to bury people. Like, just imagine that. Like, this is way before slavery was over. This is like, what, 60, no, almost 80 years before the Civil War. And you had black people that were free, that were already free, that already had the ability to be able to stay back and use their own capital. And even the governor thanked them for what they did in Pennsylvania. Like, you don't learn none of that. You don't know about none of that in history. We just seem like we just a people, like, we just outside, we want to sell drugs. I mean, we have no ability to do nothing. We have no resources. Yo, this was in the 70s, 90s, or whatever it was. Boy, they had enough money to stay when everybody was leaving. Even the president left. They stayed back there to be able to take care of people, to be able to bury the people that was died, mostly white people. That's who they buried. They work within the system. There's a lot of stuff I could say about it, but I'm going to wait till it's done.
Took the work in hand, spending some of their own funds and doing so well that they were publicly commended by Mayor Clarkson in 1790.
The mayor, my bad, not the governor, my bad, the mayor.
Before. The great work of these men, however, lay among their own race and arose from religious difficulties.
What's up?
You said they mostly buried the white people?
Yeah,
of course, because there was few black people in Philly at the time.
Exactly.
But the way, and there's a critique on, what's his name? Du Bois. Because he's doing this through the lens of his class.
Yes.
The way you read it, he says that basically they were commendable because they stayed behind and buried, the people. He made it seem like he was burying the black people, and like this white mayor was appreciative of these men taking care of the black population. But now that you telling me, of course he would bury more white people. That's why because if he was just burying black people, they wouldn't care.
Like it didn't even that many.
Reading it kind of like something clicked in my head. Like, he talks very highly about the class people, the people in his class. But when he starts talking about the masses of the people, his tone is very different. So y'all, it's a disservice of listening to the book. But when you read the book, you catch those little sentiments.
Nah, for real. But you got to understand where he's coming from. I mean, because I know if you here and you in college, you see how those professors move. You see the conversation that they have. Those conversations are different from the conversations you have here in the hood that we have. The way they see everything, the way they see the police, the way they see the institutions. I mean, their conversation, their eyes is their perception is totally different for how we are out here. Like, most of the time, they're not even in these communities. These professors, these people, like the boys didn't live in the community. He wasn't with the people that was suffering. I mean, they had their own class that he was a part of, and these were the people that were his heroes. And you're going to hear what they like. First, you're hearing already the white savior complex thing, where they got to save white people, where they got to stay behind to do that work. I mean, but you're hearing it already. You're gonna hear more of it as he keeps speaking.
As in other colonies, the process by which the Negro slaves learned the English tongue and were converted to Christianity is not clear.
Yeah, because these people, these slaves were we're all Quakers. I mean, like, see, that's what's interesting about history.
Stop. But and I disagree with that. How is it that we're not clear how we got the Christian tongue or learned English or learned about? How is that not clear?
No, like he said, he doesn't know either. But like these, like, you have to think back to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was owned by Quakers. I mean, Quakers was there. They had the slaves. They had slaves, and when they started to free their slaves in 1760, whatever that they say here, they started to free. They started putting in the thing that they shouldn't have slaves. All the slaves that they're talking about, all the black people that they're talking about, here that Du Bois is talking about, with freed by the Quakers. Not all the slaves. All the slaves wasn't freed because they still had slaves. But these wealthy slaves, the one that their masters, the wealthiest slave owners, like what you call it, Penn, William Penn, whatever. All the slaves that they had, these slaves that was around them, that got to live in those houses with them to see how they do business. One of the slaves, they even taught him how to be a doctor. They even taught him how to be a doctor. One of his masters taught him how to be a doctor, and when they freed him, he became a doctor. Like he moved to New Orleans and started practice out there. Like all of them were Quakers. Now the conversation that what they just wrote just now, like how they were able to change their tongue and like become Christian, he said he don't know. Like I am fascinated to learn how they switched from Quaker to Christian. Cause like that's big, because you're about to hear the argument that they got into. I mean, and the argument they got into ain't got nothing to do with black liberation at all. Let me play it.
The great work of these men, however, lay among their own race and arose from religious difficulties. As in other colonies, the process by which the Negro slaves learned the English tongue and were converted to Christianity is not clear. The subject of the moral instruction of slaves had early troubled Penn, and he had urged.
That's Penn. That's the person that Pennsylvania is named after. He was a Quaker. I mean, they owned Pennsylvania. The king of England, one of the kings of England, gave him Pennsylvania. I mean, he came over here and they started doing their Quaker thing, slaughtered the Indians, did what they did with the Indians. I mean, they had the Negroes there as slaves, the black people there as slaves, and he's saying like how these people flip to Christianity, like they don't even understand that either. I'm telling you, bro, after they freed this bootlicking Uncle Tom's, I think these churches came and paid them off and bought them off for them to switch their allegiance. Du Bois is saying like he don't know what happened, but it's the same shit as the Uncle Tom's from today. I mean, you could have, what's his name, Eric Adams was a Democrat. You're a Republican now. It depends on who butters your bread. I mean, I'm not surprised, but these Uncle Tom's been doing this bait and switch routine forever. They've been doing this forever. They still do it now. They switch back and forth, whoever paid them the most. I mean, so like I'm wondering like how they switch from being Quakers to going over to Christianity. I mean, they would do everything else other than fighting for liberation. Everything else.
Friends to provide meetings for them. The newly organized Methodists soon attracted a number of the more intelligent, though the masses seem at the end of the last century not to have been churchgoers or Christians to any considerable extent.
Now you hear that? Oh, God. Like you hear that? They were not even Christians, yo. They were not even Christian. I mean, like we looking back now, we think black folks always been Christians. I mean, but they were not even Christian back then. That's what Du Bois is saying. Like black folks back then were not Christian. What were they? They had to be Quakers because those are the people that owned them. Let me see if I got this right. I hope I found this. I said the freedom in 1872.
Of the city in their hands. Many of the slaves in the better families became well-known characters, as Alice, who for 40 years took the tolls at Dunn's Ferry, Virgil Warder, who once belonged to Thomas Penn, and Robert Venable, a man of some intelligence. The rise of the freedman, 1780 to 1820. A careful study of the process and effects of emancipation in the different states of the Union would throw much light on our national experiment and its ensuing problems. Especially is this true of the experiment in Pennsylvania, to be.
But even what he's saying back then, he's saying like seeing how these people moved, how these freedmen moved. I mean, like we shone light because he's talking about 1780 to 1820. He's saying like watching how they move will shine a light on our predicament now in the 1890s. And I'm saying watching how they moved then will share the light on how we moving now. We still doing the same thing. We haven't changed. We haven't really gone towards the fighting for liberation. All we've been fighting for is assimilation. I mean, and he's basically saying the same thing. Like, if you watch how they did what they did, and how they moved, and how the world around them reacted to them, you will learn. It will shine a light on what you're doing today, whatever you're doing, whenever, back then, now, whenever.
Sure, emancipation here was gradual, and the number emancipated small in comparison with the population. And yet, the main facts are similar. The freeing of ignorant slaves and giving them a chance, almost unaided from without, to make a way in the world. The first result was widespread poverty and idleness. This was followed as the number of freedmen increased by a rush to the city. Between 1790 and 1800, the Negro population of Philadelphia County increased from 2,489 to 6,880, or 176%, against an increase of 43% among the whites. The first result of this contact with city life was to stimulate the talented and aspiring freedmen. And this was the easier because the freedman had in Philadelphia at that time a secure economic foothold. He performed all kinds of domestic service, all common labor, and much of the skilled labor. The group being thus secure in its daily bread needed only leadership to make some advance in general culture and social effectiveness.
So the rest of us, like a few of them had the trade, like they got all this stuff from their masters on how to be able to be functional in society. And he said the only thing that was rest was for the rest of us, we just needed guidance. And what are those guidance? The guidance he's talking about is the institutions. That's what guidance is supposed to be, institutions and economic sectors to be able to lift the rest of the people along. I'm gonna bring that back a little bit. I know.
All kinds of domestic service, all common labor, and much of the skilled labor. The group being thus secure in its
the group being the secure. I think this is the type of what you call the
daily bread needed only leadership to make some advance in general culture and social effectiveness.
Yeah, so the rest of us, that wasn't like all we needed was guidance. I mean, and that guidance has to be institution building. That guidance is not a speech. It's not somebody writing a book. I mean, to tell you whatever. It's not somebody on a podcast talking. It's political education. It's organizing and putting into practice what you're saying is supposed to be done. And that's what all the people that come on that claim to be leaders, the intellectuals, they don't do none of that. All they do is bump their gums, write books, and then charge us to come hear them speak about the book that they wrote. Or they want us to go buy their book or support their movie or something. But there are no institutions being built. I mean, so when somebody say like, so what needs to be done? We have no institutions. We still don't have institutions now. And we're not talking about one person building an institution. I'm talking about something that's collective. That like one person, Africa, saying that, just we saying, no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the whole country, bro. The whole of North. Understand, like, we put in our money towards these institutions to do this. And they're going to talk about that, and I'm jumping the gun real quick. That's why I'm going to shut up and let it play.
Some sporadic cases of talent occur, as Durham, the Negro physician, whom Dr. Benjamin Rush in 1788 found very learned, especially
the person Rush, whatever, he's a white white doctor, and he's quoting him because the white doctor said the black dude was very learned. I think that's the one that moved to New Orleans, that took his practice to New Orleans. He's the one that the mayor thanked and all of that.
However, to be noted are Richard Allen, a former slave of the True family, and Absalom Jones, a Delaware Negro. These two were real leaders and actually succeeded to a remarkable degree in organizing the freedmen for group action. Both had bought their own freedom and that of their families by hiring their time. Allen being a blacksmith by trade, and Jones also having a trade. When, in 1792, the terrible epidemic drove Philadelphians away so quickly that many did not remain to bury the dead, Jones and Allen quietly took the work in hand, spending some of their own funds and doing so well that they were publicly commended by Mayor Clarkson in 1794. The great work of these men, however, lay among their own race and arose from religious difficulties. As in other colonies, the process by which the Negro slaves learned the English tongue and were converted to Christianity is not clear. The subject of the moral instruction of slaves had early troubled Penn, and he had urged friends to provide meetings for them. The newly organized Methodists soon attracted a number of the more intelligent, though the masses seemed at the end of the last century not to have been churchgoers or Christians to any considerable extent. The small number that went to church were wont to worship at St. George's, 4th and Vine. For years, both free Negroes and slaves worshiped here and were made welcome. Soon, however, the church began to be alarmed at the increase in its black communicants, which the immigration from the country was bringing, and attempted to force them into the gallery.
That's the immigration we're talking about today. You see, here they're talking about slaves that came from down south, that left from the country and came up. And when they came up, they didn't want them sitting in them in them pews. The same back and forth, the same hatred, the same ignorance of hatred of the other. Like it's the same thing they're talking about. He's talking about.
Crisis came one Sunday morning during prayer when Jones and Allen, with a crowd of followers, refused to worship except in their accustomed places, and finally left the church in their body.
Yeah, that? What they was fighting about in the 80s, what the black people was fighting about in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, after they killed off Malcolm and all the other revolutionaries. What were they fighting about? Going to go live in the suburbs. That's what they're fighting for, like the right to go live with white people. Yo, it's the same thing that they're fighting for. Jones and Allen, the people they were talking about, that was out here rescuing people when everybody left, rescuing white people when everybody left. Now they in church, and what are they fighting about in church? That they should be allowed to sit where they want to sit at in church. These are the fights that are important to them.
This band immediately met together and on April 2nd, 1787, formed a curious sort of ethical and beneficial brotherhood called the Free African Society.
You hear that? The Free African Society. Not the African Society, the Free African Society. So they're fighting for people that are free. The people that are free, they're coming together to fight to do things for free people. Like I just listen to what is in front of me. I don't try to make up no extra stuff. I'm gonna keep playing it. We're gonna see.
How great a step this was, we of today scarcely realize. We must remind ourselves that it was the first wavering step of the people toward an organized social life. This society was more than a mere club. Jones and Allen were its leaders and recognized chief officers. A certain parental discipline was exercised.
Yo,
You see how like he's so proud
yeah.
that like I'm thinking if any historian, sociologist would think like the Haitian Revolution was before this African free African society thing, right? Because they mentioned, I don't want to jump ahead, but they mentioned a Haitian revolutionist.
Nah,
I think it was around during this time.
nah. It's around the same time. But what you call it? Give me 1 second. Let me see. Let me see. You're not sure know about the Haitian Revolution?
They're not
Yeah.
chiming in.
No, it's all around the same time, 1791.
Like he's putting this free African society as like this emblem of 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 what black people should be doing towards freedom or whatnot.
Yeah, but
And
you
while the Haitian Revolution is going on at the same time.
no, but you also got to remember. I think he's talking about we're doing the Philadelphia Negro.
Uh-huh.
I think he's talking about the Philadelphia Negroes. Like we're gonna try to give him
I know that, but he's saying that this free society at that time was such an accomplishment because nobody else was trying to do something like that. And I'm thinking like, but there's a whole Haitian revolution in the background.
I hear you.
I'm just saying, maybe I'm just being picky. I don't know.
No. I'm saying it's not being picky. Like you hearing it, you catching what he's saying. I mean, because their formation was nothing revolutionary. But I'm saying maybe at the time for him, maybe from his glasses, seeing it from his perspective, all these things look revolutionary. But for us in 2025, that have all these years to be able to examine and see all of this, all these betrayals, we don't see it as revolutionary. We just see it as.
What I'm saying, him as the intellectual, this is where I'm saying he's trying to be a little bit intellectually dishonest. He knows the Haitian Revolution and all that, and not that he
Does he? No, like.
Oh, does he? Or maybe not.
He should. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Because the Haitian Revolution, like he knew about it. But once again, man, I don't know. I don't know if he's being sincere. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know where he's coming from because he can't be looking at that. I really don't know, yo. I'm stuck on that one. Like I don't know what he. I got to go look and see what he talked about the Haitian Revolution at that point of time, at that point in his life. I mean, but I don't know. But at the end of the day, you could still see the classism in it, and how he's looking at all of this. I mean, but the Haitian Revolution was what 1890s. 1791. Let me see. Yeah, 1791. That's when the Haitian Revolution started, and it lasted till 1804. And what he's talking about here, he's talking about around the same time.
Over its members and mutual financial aid given.
Oh, now he's talking about what their organization did. My bad. Let's stay focused. He's talking about what they did when they created their organization.
Parental discipline was exercised over its members.
And that's what I paused it to. Parental discipline. I mean, like, they just treated it like something that belonged to them. Like that they were the gods of the organization. No organization's ever going to survive when people behave that way. You have to follow some principle. It got to be some philosophy, something that you follow that's bigger than the individual. That you're not just following an individual. I mean, just listen to how they say they ran their organizations.
A certain parental discipline was exercised over its members and mutual financial aid given. The preamble of the Articles of Association says, whereas Absalom Jones and Richard Allen, two men of the African race, who for their religious life and conversation have obtained a good report among men, these persons from a love to the people of their own complexion, whom they beheld with sorrow, because of their irreligious and uncivilized state, often communed together upon this painful and important subject in order to form some kind of religious body.
Yeah, hold up. Go
But
back.
this
Man. Like, what is he
an
talking about?
uncivilized state,
Like, this is the reason.
their own conception, whom they beheld with sorrow, because of their irreligious and uncivilized state.
You see, that's what they're saying is wrong with black people at that time. That was their problem because of their irreligious and uncivilized state. This is what those leaders that Du Bois was talking about. These black leaders. Yo, I see why people be hating on Du Bois, yo. Like I see, like yo, reading it page by page and listening word by word. I mean, like these are the people that he's looking at to be leaders of black people. I mean, at that time, he chose these people, and he's saying these people were role models. And these people that he chose, that he said were role models, in the 1700s, they believed the problem of the Negro was their irreligious and uncivilized state. It had nothing to
That
do.
remind me of, Chairman,
What?
when Obama came campaigning for Kamala, telling black people what's wrong with black men.
That they're sexist because they don't want Kamala, it's because they're sexist. It's not because of everything else that she's done her whole entire career. Yo, but this is deep. This is what these so-called leaders are saying. I mean, is a problem in our community. In the 1700s, it wasn't slavery. It had nothing to do with none of that. The problem was them being irreligious and uncivilized. That was the problem. Yo, with leadership like this, how are you going to get anywhere? And then they only allowed people that were free to enter their organization, and they had resources that they shared amongst each other. It wasn't about liberating and freeing everybody else.
But Chairman, even within that, the members that they were taking care of, if they weren't a certain way, like if they didn't cause their own problems, because again, we're in slavery. So whatever these people are doing it's because they're not good people, or they can't take care of themselves, they're lazy, they don't want to work, blah, blah, blah. So, for instance, if I'm a single mother, if my husband died, yeah, they'll support me because my husband's not there to support me.
You have to be part of the group.
But I have to be part of that member. But
yeah.
if I'm an unwed mother, had a child out of wedlock or all that stuff, they're not going to support me because I don't fit that criteria.
And even though, but if you're not even inside their group, you can forget about it. If you're not free, if you're not a free in their free whatever, what they call it, freemen's organization, whatever, they not be for you. That's what they were doing. Like right now, they have all these sororities, they have all this whatever, all this. I don't know what they do because I'm not part of them. I mean, I'm not in none of them's organizations. But they have all these different black organizations that only help the people in their class. That's what. But they have communities of black people. You got to make enough money to live in those communities. Those people are not leaders of black people. They're leaders of their class, the people in their class. They often look at the people that's in the hood and the projects as the problem, as uncivilized, religious.
Even when they come from them same projects.
Yeah, when they leave from them same projects and they betray their people and they move to them communities, they look back and they turn their nose. None of this stuff is new. But let them finish speaking here.
Because of their irreligious and uncivilized state, often communed together upon this painful and important subject in order to form some kind of religious body. But there, being too few to be found under the like concern, and those who were different in their religious sentiments, with these circumstances, they labored for some time. So it was proposed after a serious communication of sentiments that a society should be formed without regard to religious tenets, provided the persons lived an orderly and sober life, in order to support one another in sickness and for the benefit of their widows and fatherless children. The society met first at private houses, then at the Friends Negro Schoolhouse. For a time, they leaned toward Quakerism. Each month, 3 monitors were appointed to have oversight over the members. Loose marriage customs were attacked by condemning cohabitation, expelling offenders, and providing a simple Quaker-like marriage ceremony. A 15-minute pause for silent prayer opened the meetings. As a representative body of the free Negroes of the city, this society opened communication with free Negroes in Boston, Newport, and other places.
Look at that. They got franchises.
With free Negroes in Boston,
Newport, and other places. They went out and had franchises of other free Negroes in other spaces. The reason why I'm pointing that out, like, it's no secret here. What I'm trying to emphasize is, if us, those of us on the plantations in these hoods, if we don't come together and start working together to build institutions to serve us, nobody else is going to do it. Not even dumb. Not even this elite black people. They may look like us. They're not coming to do nothing to help us out. They'll rather join the system and help the system come around here, ticket our cars, tow them. No damn well they don't have nowhere for nobody to park. The people that design these communities, they design them intentionally, not for it not to be enough parking. Because you can't say everybody got to take the bus, got to ride a bike to get around. It's the way our lives work. It's not conducive to be able to go around. Everybody riding a bike. Everybody needs a car to get around out here. I mean, the people that, when you understand sociology and you understand how societies are put together, how communities are put together, all these things like parking and all of that is put into the equation. So when they come in and they put all this housing and put all this stuff around here, and people got to come in and live there, and then you got to have people with cars that come in and live there, they know all of that. They know they're going to come in and there's going to be some people that's illegally parked or there's nowhere to park. So now they're going to give you a ticket and then they're going to tow your car. By the time you get your car back, you done pay like $150, $70, $200. How much you think people are making a week around here? How much you think people are making? You think they don't know that? They understand exactly what they're doing. And that's how they systematically attack us. And if we don't, I'm just talking about parking, tickets. I'm not talking about all the police state. With all the police stations being, everywhere you turn around, there's a new police station going up. There's new jails going up. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about how the wages are going down. They're not going up. They're not staying the same. People can't afford to survive, bro. Like rent is crazy. People got to have 3-4 jobs to be able to survive. All of these things, if you just sit back and you just think like you're just going to go through life, they're going to just keep exploiting us. And we can't look to nobody. We cannot look, we're in a class war. It's a class war. That, goddamn it, that's what Fred Hampton says. That's what Fred Hampton told you in the 70s and the 60s. In the 60s. That's what Fred Hampton told you. It's a class war, goddammit. We're in a class war. Now, how far was the 60s from here? From when he wrote, from when Du Bois wrote the Philadelphia Negro, explaining those conditions, how they was raping them back then. It wasn't too far from when they killed Fred Hampton. And Fred Hampton is telling you, all this race, all this religious, all this, it's a class struggle. We're in a class struggle. And we have to build institutions to be able to take care of ourselves. I'm going to take this time out to tell you all of that, because there are solutions. We're just not doing it. We keep following the same path over and over and over, making the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over.
Newport and other places. The Negro Union of Newport proposed in 1788 a general exodus to Africa, but the Free African Society soberly replied, with regard to the emigration to Africa you mentioned, we have at present but little to communicate on that head. apprehending every pious man as a good citizen of the whole world. The society cooperated with the Abolition Society in studying the condition of the free blacks in 1790. At all times, they seem to have taken good care of all their sick and dead and helped the widows and orphans to some extent. Their methods of relief were simple. They agreed, for the benefit of each other, to advance 1 shilling in silver, Pennsylvania currency a month. And
Like, you act like this is like people act like we don't know how to be able to like liberate ourselves. You hear what he said? For that group, they all had to pay dues. For them to be able to sustain themselves, they had to pay dues. So to all their influence, and I guarantee you, they probably still do that now. They have this, like, they still take care of themselves. They have this, what is it called, class solidarity. You see it, like when they come for a celebrity, all this black people, this elites be taking up for them and all of that. They still take care of each other. But what are we doing? How are we taking care of each other? Because they're not coming. If they come into our communities, they're coming into our communities to exploit our communities. Even the petty bourgeois, like not even the wealthy, rich, like the black people, let's say the professors and them, because they're the one like owning real estate. They're the one coming in our communities. People like low petty bourgeois people. They're the one owning they're also owning the 3-4 family houses and renting them out. Renting them out to their own people, doubling the rents. They always participate in the system. They're not coming down to the hood to have no revolution. They don't fought all their lives for this access to white supremacy. They're not trying to burn them bridges down to liberate nobody. And they're telling you, the way that they did it, they all paid. They all paid into it. They paid into a system where they used to be able to sustain themselves.
In silver, Pennsylvania currency a month. And after 1 year's subscription, from the dole hereof, they to hand forth to the needy of the society, if any should require, the sum of 3 shillings and 9 pence per week of the said money, provided the necessities not brought on them by their own imprudence. In 1790, the society had 42 pounds and 9 Swiss francs on deposit in the Bank of North America, and had applied for a grant of the Potter's Field to be set aside as a burial ground for them in a petition signed by...
You hear what they was doing? This is what they was doing. They was taking care of their class. That's what they, like he went back. These are the people that Du Bois is going back to sit, like an example for how the what the Negroes should be doing at that time. This is what they was doing. They were taking care of themselves. The elite, the rich people were coming together, forming organizations to be able to protect them and their children. To hell with the rest of us. Ain't nobody making that up. They still do that now. They still celebrate that now. I mean, ain't nobody in the surrounding communities want their daughters to come down and marry somebody, some YN from North. That ain't how none of this work. They want them to marry probably a Chaz, some white person up there, for them to get closer to Judaism, to get closer to that Jewish money. Like that's how they thinking out there. They're not thinking like, yeah, I want my daughter to go marry somebody from North. Yeah, somebody from the plantation.
Dr. Rush, Tench, Cox, and others. It was, however, becoming clearer and clearer to the leaders that only a strong religious bond could keep this untrained group together.
Only a strong religious bond could keep them together, not their blackness, not liberation. They needed a strong religious bond. Yo, when we come sit here as Panthers, yo, we have our philosophy. That's the bond we have. Combat liberalism, fighting imperialism. That's the bond we got. People tired of starving. So we're going to come together and build institutions to serve each other. We don't need no religious bond. But they figured they needed a religious bond. Let's see how that thing went out.
They would probably have become a sort of institutional church at first, if the question of religious denomination had been settled among them, but it had not been, and for about 6 years the question was still pending. The tentative experiments in Quakerism had failed, being ill-suited to the low position of the rank and file of the society. Both Jones and Allen believed that Methodism was the best suited to the needs of the Negro, but the majority of the society, still nursing the memory of St. George's, inclined toward the Episcopal Church. Here came the parting of the ways. Jones was a slow, introspective man with a thirst for knowledge, with high aspirations for his people. Allen was a shrewd, quick, popular leader, positive and dogged, and yet far-seeing in his knowledge of Negro character. Jones therefore acquiesced in the judgment of the majority, served and led them conscientiously and worthily, and eventually became the first Negro rector in the Episcopal Church of America.
You hear that? These are the people that he's talking about, leading black people out of their condition. People that are embedded in institutions of white supremacy, are embedded in this imperialist government. These are the people, because you can't be married to both. You can't be freeing the slaves and be the best friend of the slave master. You can't do both. You can't do both. But these are the people that Du Bois at this time is saying are role models for us to look at to understand the conditions of the Negroes in Philly. We're gonna see where he go with this. I'm trying to see where he gonna go with this. I want to see like how what they did anything to change anything when he was investigating in Philly. I want to see how their movement impacted Philly. I'm waiting for him to get there.
About 1790, Allen and a few followers withdrew from the Free African Society, formed an independent Methodist church, which first worshipped in his blacksmith's shop on 6th near Lombard.
They split. Doesn't it sound like what always happened? They split. Dame Dash and Hove. They split. I mean, I'm waiting for one of them to sell it. They're about to sell it now. They're about to sell the company now. They split because of their church differences.
Eventually, this leader became the founder and first bishop of the African Methodist Episcopal Church of America.
The first Negro this, the first Negro that.
An organization which now has 500,000 members and is by long odds the vastest and most remarkable product of American Negro civilization. Jones and the Free African Society took immediate steps to secure a church. A lot was bought at the corner of 5th and Adelphi Street in February 1792, and by strenuous effort, a church was erected and dedicated on the 17th of July, 1794. This was the first Negro church in America and known as the First African Church of St. Thomas. In the vestibule of the church was written, "The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light." Bethel Church was erected by Allen and his followers in 1796, the same year that a similar movement in New York established the Zion Methodist Church. In 1794, too, the Methodists of St. George's, viewing with some chagrin the widespread withdrawal of Negroes from their body, established a mission at Camperdown in the northeastern part of the city, which eventually became the present Zoar Church. The general outlook for the Negroes at this period was encouraging, notwithstanding the low condition of the masses of the race. In 1788, Pennsylvania amended the...
You heard what he just said? It looked great, notwithstanding what the hell the masses was catching. The future looked great because these few Negroes had their own organization where they looked after themselves. So, like, it looked great for the Negroes, despite the masses catching hell. They still do that now. Despite the masses catching hell, we got Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yeah, people can afford where to stay at. But yeah, we got a mayor, we got a governor, we got this. What's more? I think he's a governor. I mean, like, it's the same thing over and over and over, yo. These people, these class traders, like, they cannot leave nothing. They can't leave none of our organizations. By their existence alone, they can't leave nothing. Because if they were not class traders and collaborators, they wouldn't be where they at. And their analysis is not what we can use to guide ourselves or to liberate ourselves.
Notwithstanding the low condition of the masses of the race. In 1788, Pennsylvania amended the Act of 1780 so as to prevent the internal and foreign slave trade and correct kidnapping and other abuses that had arisen. The convention, which adopted the Constitution of 1790, had, in spite of opposition in the convention, refused to insert the word white in the qualifications for voters, and thus gave the right of suffrage to free Negro property holders, a right which they held and, in most counties of the state, exercised until 1837. The General Conference of Abolition Societies, held in Philadelphia in 1794, started an agitation which, when reinforced by the news of the Haitian revolt, resulted in the National Statute of 1794, forbidding.
You see? Hey, General Secretary, you heard him?
What happened? No, I was listening, but
he was talking about the Haitian revolt.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was aware of it. I mean, but like you listen to him, he probably, I don't know, he might have been against it.
That's what I'm saying, like, because he holds the free African society in such high regard. And again, because the Haitian Revolution is a bunch of people in the oppressed class, right? That's fighting against.
By and large.
So to me, he just has little respect for the masses. Like, he don't value what the masses are and have to offer to, I think he just look at the people, and maybe in some extent just ignorant people, and the only people that's qualified to give any credence to is people like Absalom Jones and
people in his class.
Yeah, the middle class, the higher class.
The slave trade. In 1799 and 1800, Absalom Jones led the Negroes to address a petition to the legislature, praying for immediate.
Yeah, that to the legislature. So, like, they're still going to the system, to the institution, to this government, to be able to seek redress. Despite all the laws and everything that they keep saying, like, none of this stuff works. Like, from their perspective, from their minds, because they come from this. They come from that world. Like, everything that they've learned in their mind, in all their book reading, for them to be intellectuals, like the system, the only way, they can't see anything other than working through the system. Working through the system, like that, like going through their churches, their institutions, they can't see creating their own. They can't fathom that.
The abolition of slavery, and to Congress against the fugitive slave law, and asking prospective emancipation for all Negroes. This later petition was presented by Congressman Wong and created an uproar in the House of Representatives. It was charged that the petition was instigated by the Haitian revolutionists, and finally the Negroes were censured for certain parts of the petition. The condition of the Negroes of the city in the last decade of the 18th and the first 2 decades of the 19th century, although without doubt bad, slowly improved, and Insurance Society in 1796 took the beneficial features of the old free African society. Some small essays were made in business, mostly in small street stands near the wharves, and many were in the trades of all kinds. Between 1800 and 1810, the city Negro population continued to increase, so that at the later date there were 100,688 whites and 10,522 blacks in the city. The Negroes thus spanning the largest percent of the population of the city that they have ever attained. The free Negroes also began to increase from the effect of the abolition law. The school established in 1770 continued and was endowed by bequests from whites and Negroes. It had 414 pupils by 1813. In this same year, there were 6 Negro churches and 11 benevolent societies. When the war broke out, many Philadelphia Negroes were engaged on land and sea. Among these was James Horton, a fine character, expressive of the best Negro development of the time. Born in 1766 and educated by Benezet, he was a gentleman by nature, easy in manner and able in intercourse. Popular as a man of trade or gentleman of the paid, and well received by the gentry of lighter shade. For years he conducted a sailmaking trade, employing both whites and Negroes. In 1814, he, Jones, Allen, and others were asked, in the midst of the alarm felt at the approach of the British, to raise colored troops. A meeting was called and 2,500 volunteers secured, or 3/4 of the adult male population. They marched to Gray's Ferry and threw up fortifications. A battalion for service in the field was formed, but the war was closed before they reached the front. The Negroes at this time held about $250,000 of city property and on the whole showed great progress since 1780. At the same time, there were many evidences of the effects of slavery. The first set of men emancipated by law were freed in 1808, and probably many entitled to freedom were held longer than the law allowed or sold out of the state. As late as 1794, some Quakers still held slaves, and the papers of the day commonly contained such advertisements as, to be sold for want of employ, for a term of years, a smart active Negro boy, 15 years of age, inquire at Robert McGee's board yard, Vine Street Wharf.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody in here know what a rising star rises all boats, if you ever heard that. But that's what Democrats, Republicans, that's what they be saying. Well, they say Republicans say, but Democrats do the same thing. It sounds like the same thing here. It seems like that's the same thing they're saying. I mean, despite the masses are catching hell, a few of the elite Negroes own what do you say, $250,000 worth of property there. So to him, there was progression. There was progression for the Negro because this few amount of people had this much resources in under imperialism, under slavery. To them, that was okay. I mean, but it is what it is, man. That's the when you say it is what it is, it means because it is what it is. That's what it is. I mean, what it is we under imperialism. This is how the system works. These people are not coming down here to do nothing for you. You have to do it yourself. You have to work every day to think about how you're going to survive in the society. Together, organize together to do it. You can't do it by yourself. You can't defeat these people by yourself. You can't listen to these academics. I'm about to play 2 academics. Both of them, you would consider them petty bourgeois. But when you listen to them, they act like they're not part of the petty bourgeois class. Like it's like it goes back and forth. Like they fluctuate. Like they act like they're with the people, but you're not with the people. I'm talking about Jared Ball and what's her name? What's her name? What's her name?
Bad Faith. Bad Faith. Well, we're gonna go to the video. I'll think of it. I'm looking it up.
So let me see where they start at right here.
Brianna Joy.
Yeah, so this is Brianna Joy Gray, and that's Jared Ball on the right. If there's the right, the male character, the male person, that's Jared Ball. He's a professor of Africana and Communication Studies at Morgan State University. Berkeley's supposed to be here. Berkeley goes to Morgan State. I mean, Berkeley's supposed to have went to go have a conversation with him already, but he works there, and they're talking. They're going to be talking about what Norman Finkelstein said about the Black Panther Party, and like, 'cause that's what the Black Panther Party. Du Bois did this in the 1890s. He wrote this in the 1890s, in the 60s and 70s. That's like what, 70 years, 80 years later. The government, the United States government, killed and assassinated most of the leaders that were fighting for revolution at that time, because they wasn't talking about going into the government, going to go vote for people to be able to liberate ourselves. They were saying, yo, we have to do it ourselves. We have to link with people all around the world that's fighting against imperialism. Yo, the government went in there and they killed most of those people. And then Norman Finkelstein was on her show, and he was like, if you don't know Norman, that's okay. We'll get to that later. But he was on her show. He's supposed to be an academic, white Jewish dude. But he was on the show, and he was saying like the Panthers, those people that were killed in the 60s and 70s, it really didn't matter. I mean, like, they wasn't really that serious. And Mondani, people like Bernie Sanders, this is a evolution from that stage of politics. That Mondani, the one that's running for mayor in New York, meant more to the people, to the society, than the Black Panther Party, the Fred Hampton. And he was, yo.
This is not the clip. Remember, you moved it down. It's the 48-minute mark clip.
Yeah. I know. I'm saying, I'm just breaking it down, like why we put this on. I mean, why we have her on here speaking? Because we just left from listening to the Philadelphia Negro. This is to chapter 3, and they were talking about the perspective, where those academics and those rich people, their perspective, where they were coming from. These are the academics now of today. What is their perspective? How do they see our liberation? How we should move towards that? Brianna Joy Gray is supposed to be left. She's supposed to be like the radical one in politics. I mean, like, with the people that she mixed with. He's supposed to be on her left, but they're both really the same. They're both really not that different. I mean, but they don't see that. She thinks he's like a radical. Like, it's weird. Like, this black thing, this academia, the way they move out, it's weird. But like, when you listen to them, because like the way she started her show off, they're discussing what's the name of the movie they're discussing?
The American Fiction.
The American Fiction. I don't know if anybody has seen it, but I haven't watched it. I'm gonna watch it today. I'm gonna make sure I try to get up on the Fire Stick or something, man. I'm gonna watch it to understand what they're really talking about. But I watched a little bit of it. I mean, and it's basically, from what I read of it, it's what the average black person does to gain access to white supremacy. All this selling out you got to do, the selfishness that you got to embody, the individualism you got to embody. Screw everybody. It's only me and my family. That's what the main character basically embodies. That's what they're talking about. And she's basically like saying movies are just entertainment. They're not really that serious. And she brought him on because she knows he has a critique on media and stuff. And I guess this was supposed to be the icebreaker to see if they have anything in common for them to talk about. So they spent a few minutes talking about that. I mean, but I'm gonna skip through this real quick. I'm gonna skip through. We ain't gonna be on here long. I'm gonna skip through and see what's the voice.
So the Jeffrey Wright character goes to hail a cab, and he thinks the cab has left him because he's black, and he goes to stomp his foot and be like, "Ain't it always this way?" And then the cab fully either pulled over for him or had pulled over, was out of commission. It was something that he was very quickly invalidated from thinking it was a race issue. It wasn't like where you thought that this genre of movie was gonna zig. It's that. There's another moment where they're on the beach about to scatter the siblings' ashes, and there's it's very solemn, and the white neighbor comes over, and you're like, oh no, this is about to be a racism. This person's about to tell them to get off the beach or something, and it's fully their beach. And it's like a neighbor that they've known for years, and they have a casual interpersonal interaction instead of this hostile racial interaction that we are sort of anticipating as an audience. I mean, the movie understands, confronts, and subverts expectations for what the typical melodrama is, where they treat affluent black people as having the same concerns as working class blacks vis-a-vis the police and the state and violence, and instead kind of brushes those to the side and says, no, this is just going to be a story about affluent people who happen to be black, and their blackness is relevant in some of these ways, but not in these sort of basic expected ways. And I thought it did a really good job. Is that so wrong? Is that a crime?
Now, you heard what she just explained. You heard what she just explained, that how rich black people basically act like we all share the same reality when we really don't. But they always act like they're black like us when they don't deal with the same institutions we deal with, like the police. They don't have the same interactions with the police that we do. And she's saying the movie showed that. Is that so wrong? Like she's saying the movie was a great movie, whatever. And he about to give her his rebuttal, whatever, why the movie is not so great.
It's not. So essentially my argument is, and I've created this whole approach as a salute to an old coworker of mine named Vernon. And so I call it the Vernon philosophy of black media avoidance. And the long story short of it is that when we like media, commercial media, in particular commercial media produced in this particular political context, we should be more critical of it, because all that is usually a sign of is that those who have crafted that particular product have found all the buttons to push to make an audience want to consume it. And then what we end up missing in this particular film that Mtume had to help me catch to see are the underlying class politics. And it's an apologia in many ways for the black bourgeoisie, with the idea that the black community, regardless of the class level or situation, has, as you said, a lot more in common with one another than is often or not often enough considered. But in this case, when we do consider the black bourgeoisie, we're supposed to feel they're doing the best they can in this society. So if they make certain political choices or make certain cultural productive choices, we're supposed to just accept it with uncritically, because to your point, they do a lot of this well. They present a lot of this well, and in a way that does subvert expectation and does and is in particularly well acted. I thought the story. I mean, I liked a lot of it, but missed that very, I think, powerful underlying apologetic or for the black bourgeoisie.
I'd be curious.
Now this is a debate this is a deep debate that they're about to have right here. You see, because he pointed it out. I mean, that in the movie, like the things that the lead character is going through in the movie, he identifies himself with it, because they're things you have to do to be able to navigate through the middle class, to be able to get into those spaces. There are things that you have to do that are wrong. I mean, he identifies with it, and she's trying to act like she don't understand what's going on, because at the beginning of the interview, it seemed like she was real, like trying to be standoffish, like she don't see what we all see. That's why I guess she consider him a liberal. She's more out than he is. But he's explaining, because like that's what he do. He's been going to school, he studied whatever media. He understands how the media works, how subtle it is. So he's explaining like all the little things that they're doing, that he's going through, that he sees himself like through the main character. I mean, because that's what, these are all the betrayals, daily betrayals that you have to go through if you want to make it in that space. And he understands that. And she's saying those betrayals make you hate the character. And that's what that's what the people that did the movie were trying to portray, that these betrayals are like a negative. I mean, that's what they're going back and forth about right now.
Chairman, but she's also being insincere because she works in media. She's a lawyer. She did not get that degree for nothing. She learned something. Not only that, she's been in this media space for a very long time. People in these media spaces, they get all the knowledge and know-how how to capture audience. So she knows what to feed to audience, to what messages to receive subliminally and explicitly and directly. She knows all this, but again, she's in the system, whatever.
It's beneficial to her. It's cognitive dissonance.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is. It's a cognitive dissonance that she's trying to do. Like right now, her whole shtick. A whole shtick. I mean, she's like, it's cognitive dissonance because she knows he's telling the truth.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm just interrupting.
No, that's it. So I just think that's.
That was my mistake.
I know.
I just think that's why it's important to just be, especially when we like something, to be critical. That's really all.
I'd be curious what you would make of the episode that we actually did, because I had Mtume on because I liked some of his takes, but I also felt like that argument that the movie was doing apologia. I think I mean it's been a while. I don't remember what was in the book and what was in the movie, but I do remember. Yeah, there were some deeper criticisms.
To be with the woman that he wanted to be with. And that we're supposed to feel.
Yeah, they go on. If you want to watch the movie, like, you go ahead and watch it for yourself. But the reason why, like, I let this part play right here, we're in 2025. The world is different. We're not in Pennsylvania and Philly in the 1890s. We're in 2025, and the way the means in which they try to get into our minds, to condition how we think and how we see the world, or how to find agency for the stuff that we're dealing with, is different from how they were doing in the 1890s. Number one, everybody didn't have a TV in their home. Everybody didn't have a smartphone. They didn't have computers. They didn't have none of this stuff. So the means in which they're doing it now, he's going to go on to explain later on how they've been working on how to brainwash all of us. How somebody thing is on. How they've been working to brainwash all of us for decades. And how powerful brainwashing has been. Let me see what
so, for instance, I just did an interview with, and somebody maybe you should consider talking to as well, a woman named Samantha Youssef, who has a long career in Hollywood and working for Disney in particular, and who has also recently gone on to grad school and still doing her career, but has become highly critical, wrote a great paper, grad project that I got to see, and part of her argument, and the way we didn't get to delve into this, and I wanted to do that next time, is that she said in this, well, you haven't seen it yet. So there's a particular scene that she uses to describe.
Well, I've seen season one.
Okay, so in season one, when and I can't forget the actor's name, but when the main character within the prison complex, who is Andor's sort of primary antagonist, I guess, initially, but who ends up, leading the revolt, but doesn't himself jump. If you remember that part,
the older guy.
The older guy with the beard, and he said, he's the one yelling, "There's one way out," and then they get to the edge, and he says, "I can't swim," so he doesn't jump.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to catch up to her point, but Samantha's argument is she explained it a little bit better. We just didn't have time to stay in this point. She said, if you feel an affinity for his fear, which is what the viewer's design is supposed to, you were supposed to feel like, we're supposed to feel sorry for him or having some sort of an affinity for him, even as he does not jump and goes back into the wherever. We're not sure exactly what happens to him. That's how she's arguing that's how the film or the series in this case tricks us and captures us so that we don't have a full. I think what she's saying that we don't fully appreciate the escape or the need for all of us to escape our colonial boundaries. So I'm not doing her argument service, so I don't want to. But
the argument is the guy should jump to his death because he can't swim. It's not like he's just afraid and he's a coward and he gives up.
All right, so they're talking about Andor. Andor's all right. I watched Andor, and I remember the scene that they're talking about. Because before this, she asked him, like, give me an example of how this movie is trying to brainwash us. So he giving her an example of Andor, how they were all locked up in the prison. And they all basically, after a while, they all broke out and they were running to freedom. But when they got to the ledge, you had to jump off this thing, whatever, and fall inside the water. And bruh couldn't jump, bruh wouldn't jump because he didn't know how to swim. So Jared Ball is trying to say, from the lady that he's quoting, whatever, that she's saying that the fact that that person didn't jump, it enables or gives people or justifies why people don't participate in liberation. Like, sometimes they feel like the price is too much to pay. That's why they turn around and they walk back into imperialism. And she's saying, are you serious? The whole show, it's not even based on him. He's just a side character, the person's side character. You telling me, they're trying to use little subtle messages with stuff like that? He's going to go on to explain about product placement and all of that. But Jared Ball is right that all art is propaganda. All the media, all entertainment is not just there to entertain you. Yeah, he's right, but his problem is he's not on the ground level of that oppression. So and he's not practically working, doing revolutionary-ish every day of his life. So he really can't see how what is in the movie affects the revolution or those fighting for the revolution. See, if he heard me say that, he'd probably think I was a jerk, I was just trying to play, I'm just hating on him. I'm going to give him an example. If you watch Andor, there was a scene where Andor was explaining this young lady, she's scared. She part of the rebellion, and her job as part of the rebellion was to give him access to a plane for him to steal. So she's scared because she know after he take the plane, they're gonna come after her. So she asked him, is it worth it? So Andor turned to her and he tell her the fact that you're here is worth it. You're tired of being a slave, and for the first time in your life, you're actually doing something to change the material conditions out here, to liberate everybody. So he said more than that, but basically that's what he told her. This is you finding yourself. Everything else that you've done in your life has basically led to you finding yourself. And he gave her that speech. And then a couple of episodes later, he talking about leaving the revolution. You see, because their argument is all these movies, all these shows counter-revolutionary. That in itself is counter-revolutionary. Not understanding that this fight is forever. You're going to have to risk stuff. You're going to give up stuff. It's going to be things that you're going to go through. All of that. Andor didn't know that because they missed one crucial thing in that show. See, but only a revolutionary can understand it. You know what they missed? They missed to give them political education. Andor had no political education.
Kevin,
yo.
Again, I'm going to disagree. And I'm going to disagree with myself, too. They didn't miss it. Because, again, this is counter-revolutionary. They did all that to suck you in. They were like Jared Ball, and I agree with him, Jared Ball, even though he's a flawed individual, that's the sophistication of media. They give you all the things that would say, yes, I'm down with the revolution, and then they shoot you with what they call reality, which is your reality. If I make all these sacrifices, like you said, nobody want to make all these sacrifices. So when they see that girl being scared, they relate to her. And even though few people will go and be real revolutionaries, but the masses as a whole, they will fall back, turn around like the old man on the edge that don't know how to swim. They rather go back to oppression than to die for their freedom.
Yeah, but they didn't show anything about political education. You see, but what you call it, would they really respect that? He won't say nothing about it. Gerald Ball don't understand the importance of political education. He thinks he does, but he really doesn't, because he hasn't been in the spaces where where it's real, where political education is what gets you up every day. It's what makes you show up to meetings. It's what allows you to commit.
I'm right.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about Nemec's manifesto in season 1?
Wait, what was his manifesto? I don't remember.
Nemec's manifesto, pretty much, it was an episode in season 1 towards the end, in which he spoke at length. It was a recording that Cassian Andor was able to retrieve. Nemec died. He was already writing throughout the first season.
Yeah.
1 second, son. Let me take that. I got mute though.
We good?
Yeah, and in that episode, it was towards the end. It was like in the last 5 minutes, and it was really deep. So you should watch. I don't remember exactly the episode, but unfortunately, Nemec is he's kind of patterned after the Karl Marx, the young Karl kind of image. In which he's writing the manifesto, and then it turns out to be one of the leading pamphlets, like, let's say, Thomas Paine during the so-called American Revolution, and becomes a catalyst or a big influence towards the people fighting and pushing against the empire. But that was mentioned in that one. I think the show is dope. I mean, especially the first season. And it's actually one of the reasons I decided to take the political education course for the one on 2023. Once I see that, it's like, wow, okay. So sometimes, yeah, it's Disney. It's something that's like we always associated with capitalism and everything. But for some reason, this show went through, and sometimes there's something or a show or a movie like The Matrix in the late 90s that kind of, brings people and kind of pushes them out of curiosity to see what exactly is the rebellion. Once they start seeing the allegories or metaphors, they can put two and two together. I don't know what drives these directors or producers to, wait to make, but it's just like every 10 or 20 years, there's always like a set of movies that kind of like, for me personally, and in my travels in my life. But other than that, yeah, it is covered. I think you should give the show a chance. But at the same time, it's almost a blueprint to revolution. Period.
All power to the people. My computer's a little bit slow. Hold on a second, y'all. Hello?
We can hear you.
It's not slow or nothing?
No.
Yeah, because I was hearing it. Now I don't even hear it at all. I mean, I'm going to see. Like, I don't hear nothing no more. It stopped doing it. What you
I think you say you.
Yeah, it stopped doing it. No, but no, I like Andor too, comrade. I like Andor too. Like, even the Matrix, like you bring up the Matrix, I liked it too. Like, I gave it a chance. But my critique was the reason why most of these what you call it, and he's gonna say it here. I don't even want to steal his thunder because he's going to explain. But most of these movies, most of these productions, they know the people that put these movies out, the people that like produce these movies. They know where the people are at. They know how the people are feeling, and they need something to speak to how they're feeling. But the reason why it's counter-revolutionary is because there's subtle things that are kept out or subtle things that are put in to confuse people. Like, if you watch Andor, at no point in the show do they speak about political education. The first step towards liberation or freedom is political education. You can't just join an organization or want to fight for revolution because you're angry, you're just mad, you just got a whole bunch of rage, and you become reactionary. You're just a reactionary. There was a part where Andor was fighting with what was going back and forth with the dude that brought him in. You remember his name, Rodrigo?
You mean in the beginning? Oh, you're talking about the one that was associated with the senator?
Yeah, the one that was selling the artifacts.
Right. Yeah, the antiques dealer.
You don't remember his name, right? His name?
I don't.
Nah, but it was that show was real good. It's real. If you haven't seen it, real good. But cut your Rodrigo. That's what it is. That's what we cutting in. I mean, you can cut it back on when you're talking, but after you finish talking, cut it off. But the dude, the antique dealer, and Andor was going back and forth, and he never gave Andor political education. He pulled up at Andor when Andor was doing crimes, whatever, stealing this, that, and third, and he told Andor, like, yo, you should come work for me. He never said, bro, you got to go to political education to understand why we're doing what we're doing. For you to understand. You see, by not putting that, you're misleading the people that's watching it because they don't understand what it takes to actually fight against the empire.
I get that. And I totally understand that. It's very similar to I'm a metalhead as well. I've got into all kinds of different music in New Jersey. Everyone's out. So everyone's trading cultures. I grew up in a hip hop oriented society, but then I moved across town and hang out with some new friends, and they're listening to new music. And the group called they're from Seattle. They're from the late 80s. I forget their name, but they did an awesome album. It was a concept album called Operation Mindcrime, right? And in it, there's it's almost like a Lennon-like character, and they did videos and everything. It's like almost like Pink Floyd when they do the tie-in videos with the concept album thing. Anyway, so they did the same thing, but they left out a thing. They like it was a vengeful person, but at the same time, it kind of introduced me at the age of 15 into the ideas that there are revolutionaries. And the beginning of the video was it showed you different clips of different revolutions going back to Rome, to like Spartacus, all the way to the 20th century, to the revolutions of the Soviet Union and everything. And it was something different than what I was being taught at that time with Reaganomics and all that in play, the propaganda that came with the 80s. But saying that, so it's kind of the same thing. In Andor, I feel like, yeah, he's like a manipulator, and that's the same thing in that concept. The so-called Lenin-like character was a manipulator. Like he kind of like he found his person that he was going to use to make his this was the personal story within the album. But then I saw the same thing. Like he's not educating anybody. He's just trying to pull in people to advance his own agenda. And that, yeah, I agree with that, with what you're saying. There was no real education. It wasn't an organization, in the real sense, that was letting people know. They were like, oh, we'll let you know what you're going to do next. Almost like, in order to advance the intrigue and all that. But, yeah, and that part, I do. That's where they made it look like it's a shadowy organization type of thing.
Yeah, but it was still a good. Look, there's a lot of garbage out there you could watch. Like watching that, I mean, it's better. I mean, because even like he's gonna say in the clip. I mean, sometimes he fall for it, even though he's a media person. I mean, but those are little things that he wouldn't catch. He wouldn't catch the education part because he has no idea how big that is. And there's even a clip of Fred Hampton where he's telling some organizers that came to come do some work with them, explaining to them the purpose of education. Because if people don't have education, they're going to turn around to become fascists. You're going to have black fascists. I mean, that's what he was telling the black people that was in there with him. Yo, the first duty of a revolutionary is to be educated. The first duty, because if she's educated, what? Go ahead.
No, I just want to also add, like, even though I knew, like, the first duty of it, I fell into Andor until, after watching it for a while, it finally clicked, like, there's something missing. And we kept on saying that, like, there's something missing. It was like, oh, because it's a political education. Because there were certain things that Andor was doing, and we're like, if you're supposed to be a revolutionary, why are you doing this stuff? So, yeah, even us as intellectual or well-versed in revolution as we are, sometimes that message gets through when we sometimes fall for it.
I mean, cause you want to fight against the empire. You want to. The empire is all around you, and you want to, and they know it. And that's what Jeroboam basically was telling her, like, that the empire know it, because she said, let me play something.
At the end, he's very brave throughout. He gets everybody free at great personal risk. He probably is going to go back inside and get himself killed anyway. But he knows it's certain death if he jumps off if he can't swim.
So, but the way, and again, I'm not doing her justice here, but the way I interpreted her argument is that I think we're supposed to see that as an allegory for our own fears of not joining revolutionary efforts in our lifetime. That we're supposed to, so that when someone says, again, I just
there as the protagonist.
I understand that, and that's why what is happening is very sophisticated, because he jumps. But we also know in the back of our minds, given the history of this thing, that all of this is for naught, because the whole planet gets destroyed. So I think and that's another thing.
Like when it shows the counter-revolutionaries, everything that they're doing, breaking out that prison, jumping out, at the back of your mind, you know they're about to blow up the whole planet. So all of that don't even really matter. Everything that they're doing. And that seeps into the minds of people that's watching it, that's looking for that to motivate them, for them to be able to fight back, to learn something from it. At the end of the day, the show is telling them your efforts is not going to get you anywhere. I mean, they're just too powerful. You can't defeat them. You can't defeat imperialism. You can't defeat the empire. At the end of the day, that's what the message is supposed to tell you. And I'm hearing the echo again.
I'm thinking, again, really what I am biased in favor of, given what has been clearly the intent of the design of our current media environment, and film in particular. The history is very clear on this. The research, I think, is very clear on this. That there is a particular way that films, especially when we go to see them in theaters, can capture our senses and our consciousness and make us very primed for subtext. So I'm admitting I'm still struggling with this, because my biases are so in favor of the dominant themes in this Andor series, and that's what I'm saying is this of all of this, and this is that it is understood.
And that dominant theme is fighting the empire. Because, like, if you don't know what Star Wars are, if you never watched Star Wars, it's a group of people that's trying to bring the empire down. The empire, like, let's say the United States government, that's going around bombing everybody, bombing people in Palestine, bombing people in Africa. Like, the United States government, these governments are evil. So the whole show is about bringing down the empire, the government. They got the character Darth Vader, all these different people. So, like, people that want to fight back against the system, they look at those movies and they can identify with them. I mean, and he's saying there's subtle messages in it, and she's acting like she doesn't know that, she doesn't accept that. She don't know it. Like, there's subtle messages in there to try to tell people, like, yo, fighting against the empire, you ain't gonna get nowhere. Let me try to move it forward a little bit.
Okay, here's the thing. First of all, there were people. Barack Obama existed at a time in American politics where there was not very much in the way of alternative media. The internet was relatively new. There certainly wasn't any Twitter or TikTok, or there was barely the internet. I mean, let's just be so for real right now. And the idea that there was any messaging, like there was any clarity on what he actually represented for the average passive, for me, about to start law school young person, it just is a very different dynamic. Moreover, this isn't like, I don't know, I think it's a little apples and oranges to be comparing a presidential candidate to a movie, because I'm not saying that the movie is doing a thing, like is a like movement in and of itself. But if people, it is symbolic by nature. It is iconography by nature. It doesn't have to actually. The problem with Obama is that he didn't follow through on his promises, and there were people who were able to predict that more or less than other people. In addition to obviously.
But there were people. Sort of to my point though is that, and I may have been intentionally picking that as an example off the top of my head. So, I'm not surprised that came off that quickly. But in 2008, I just lost my thought. You had just said.
I said Barack Obama didn't follow through on his promises. A movie doesn't have any promises to keep. Right.
So, but part of what was effective for Obama, and this was even expressed by Rahm Emanuel at the time, who was his chief of staff and running his media campaign, was that the goal that made his campaign so effective was to put Obama everywhere, put his image everywhere, put his sound bites everywhere, interviewing all the time, with the idea that people couldn't keep up with the exact message, didn't know exactly what he was saying. They just took on an affinity for him. So a lot of people projected onto him things that he actually was not saying, and were not paying attention to the things that he was saying and who he was putting in his cabinet, and then put all of this onto him so that there was this sort of dissonance that had to be caught up to when it appeared to be that he wasn't doing what people thought he was going to do. But my only point is that the projection of Obama in terms of his media presence was meant to convey something that tapped into something that was very much desired in the electorate. And that's what I'm saying Andor does. And, I've seen interviews. Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Let me ask you this. And I asked this during the American Fiction episode. Is there a piece of media that you like, that you think is positive and lefty?
No.
It's a very good question. Not in terms of popular commercial media. I can't think of any. Now I want to be clear to draw the distinction that what I like is a lot. What I think is politically valuable, that's a whole different category.
I watched Andor. We watched Andor. I liked Andor. What else did we like? What else did we watch that we liked?
I think Colony. That was an old show from back in.
Colony. See, like, all these shows are about fighting the system. Like, there's a whole bunch of shows that I like, but I can also peep the counter revolutionary things in them. I see it. I mean, and after a while, like, I just stopped watching it because I can't take it no more. I mean, but there are no shows out there that's really on that revolutionary wave. None. There are no shows nowhere on public media, nowhere. I don't care. In the more black people that have in it, the worse it is. Because the more black people that have in it, the more they're trying to appeal to black people. And if they're trying to appeal to black people, they're trying to lie to them. And that's how you got to understand this media system for what it is. That don't mean we don't watch TV. I don't listen to music. I don't do none of that. But I understand at the end of the day what their purpose is. And that's what he's trying to explain to her. But she acting like just because you see these things, that don't mean you can enjoy different shows that are coming. Like, I'm not going to watch Power. Like, that's not my thing. I don't want to watch that. I don't find it entertaining. I don't find that the behavior, the way they move. Like I said, I like fighting against the system. Stuff going into space. I mean, like, stuff like that, like sci-fi. That's what intrigues me. Not a white boy that's in the hood, like he real gangster. Like, all that stuff, like, all that goofy stuff don't appease me. I mean, like selling drugs, like going in the drug game, like that don't appeal to me. I mean, so like I'm not watching that, but I'm gonna watch something like Andor. I mean, because that's talking about the empire. And what was the last movie that black people did that talked about the empire? What was the last show that they did that attacked the empire? I mean, they don't do nothing like that, man.
what I'm very concerned about is that those in power have been studying this for very long.
I should bring this back a little bit. I mean, but let me bring it back. Let me let her speak, and then he give his rebuttal, because this is very important.
Traveling solo doesn't mean being disconnected.
Years earlier. So all
Really, but I remember, I felt like I was struggling to list, frankly, just to list out as many assassinations as I know exist, but I was just struggling in the moment. Fred Hampton, I was just,
Well, he said only.
Okay, so now she's talking about Norman, when Norman was there. I should bring it back. Well, we ain't got nowhere to go. We listen to the conversation. Listen to her. Listen to what she's talking about with Norman.
Or dismissiveness or diminution.
And when he meant to move, but Cooper.
They all reconnect in some sort of friendly way. And again, no revolutionary or radical politics needed. No critical questions about how we got here in the first place, or what does the reestablishment of the norm mean. None of that is brought in. And so by the end, I think we're all meant to feel like, look, this is it. At the end of the day, Western man or men and a woman and even a black one are going to come in here and save everybody.
Even the black one, even Mr. Terrific, Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Terrific, that's terrific, and then we got Fantastic and before, right.
Yeah, no, Captain, the movie with that Green Party, Captain Marvelous. Come on. Because they have enormous revolutionary potential, but because they had enough to apparently to get you were going back and forth. And earlier in the conversation, Norm had alluded to what would be done to the movement, the harm that would be done to the movement if, God forbid, anything actually happened to the safety of Zoran Mamdani, and how it would be really debilitating to the movement. And I kind of pushed back and said, I think that we have to frame that differently. We can't allow a movement to rise or fail on the success of any one leader. I think we have to have more grit than that. And the conversation moved on. And then later in the conversation, I raised the question of whether or not all of the assassinations of the 1960s had a really self-defining effect on the protest movements of the 1950s. And Norm Finkelstein sort of objected to the impact that all of those assassinations, from Malcolm X to Martin Luther King to even the Kennedys, although to be so clear, I don't raise them because they have enormous revolutionary potential, but because they had enough to apparently to get themselves killed. And he sort of pushed back against that, saying, I don't think those assassinations actually had that much of an effect. And at the time of the context of the episode, I was frustrated. I don't have the same historical knowledge to refute that claim as someone like yourself does, Dr. Ball. But you went ahead and did your own response to it on your own podcast, I Mix What I Like, that I encourage people to go and listen to. But I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk with me about what you wish I would have said, and what your response is to the idea that the massive numbers of assassinations over the course of the 1960s, what effect that they had on the movements of the period.
So first of all, I don't remember watching it and feeling like I wish you had done anything differently. I, in fact, think in general that with that show and in most cases, even in this one, you raise disagreement and challenge your guests quite well. So I didn't really have any. I was more flabbergasted by the position he was taking and what he was trying to argue than I would have been in your or anyone else's ability to quickly respond in that moment. And I had a little bit of time and distance to think about it and still think that there needs to be more said about it. But essentially, I just bristled at. And this is also, to be fair, connected to the interview I did with him a couple of years ago and some reverberating effects of related responses to that and to his book, The Burning Bridges book. So like a lot of this is in my head as I was listening to your interview, watching your interview, and then listening to his response and thinking about it, which is, so I bristled at his or anyone's condemnation or dismissiveness or diminution of any kind of radical efforts of the past or of today. So I was just bothered by the anti-historical approach that he was bringing to the conversation to justify what I think are, again, very liberal, centrist politics that he wants to project as more radical than they are. So instead of just simply saying, acknowledging certain histories and just simply saying, I don't agree with them, and this is why I think we need to move in this way, which I think would have been more honest, he first wanted to undermine those ideas and politics and struggles so that we could reach a more, again, mature conclusion that he wants us to reach about how to approach, whether it's Mamdani or electoral politics or politics in general. So for him or anyone to, again, you don't have to agree with the Panthers or the Revolutionary Action Movement or the Black Liberation Army or any of the figures associated with those struggles to have to acknowledge what they did, that they existed, they had arguments, ideas, that they did engage in some cases violently with the state. They produced political prisoners, some of whom are still in prison to this day or who are being let out just in time to die. And the state has been very clear in its counterintelligence program documents, in its counterinsurgency documents, in its sort of state-sanctioned scholarship and journalism. It has been very clear that there has been a concerted, that they see black communities and others, indigenous, Latin Americans, and even working class labor struggles, as insurgent elements that need to be targeted as you would any national or anti-colonial struggle overseas. And they brought those very same tactics back to bear here in the United States and have been more or less open about it in a variety of ways that a scholar like Finkelstein should be appreciative of. So to say that no one got killed or only 3 people got killed and they weren't really a threat and Mamdani represents more of a threat than people in the Black Liberation Movement of some years ago is historically unsupported by the data, is as polite a way I can put it. And it was just a disturbing approach, and one that really does bother me in general, as I said, which is just what happens a lot today, that there's an attempt to rebrand what is radical, rebrand what is revolutionary, rebrand some of those histories, and then ultimately to diminish or to disrespect the ideas, struggling for socialism or national liberation or something of that. We're supposed to, certainly Pan-Africanism under scientific socialism, we're not supposed to advocate for that at all. So when I see interviews like that, I admit get a little bit irritated and wanted to say something about it. But again, to be clear, I thought you did a pretty good job in being critical of what he was doing in that context, and I just hope that others would see the interview, feel a certain same kind of way, and then want to revisit some of those histories and struggles, especially as I know we're taping this now, we're only a day or so out of another commemoration of Black August, which is a good time to revisit some of these histories of liberation struggles and to sort of hopefully recommit ourselves to those struggles. So,
well, where would you want to start digging back into some of these histories? Because I appreciate you saying that you didn't think that I did so poorly, but I remember, I felt like I was struggling to list, frankly, just to list out as many assassinations as exist, but I was just struggling in the moment. Fred Hampton, I was just,
Well, he said only. First of all, he was wrong in that. First of all, I mean, even when he said Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were only 2 of 3 to be assassinated, he's not only wrong in that, but to be specifically technical, Mark Clark was not being targeted for assassination, and the argument is that he wasn't even shot by the police. He was killed by the discharge of that something about the discharge of a weapon he was holding was actually what killed him, but it was in response to the invasion of the house. And anyway, but the point being, I'm just simply saying that they were there to not only target Fred Hampton, but part of what gets left out of even in Finkelstein's or my own rendition of that, poor rendition of that, is that Eugene O'Neill had been sent to work undercover for the FBI and Chicago police to infiltrate Hampton's organization and then ultimately drug his drink so that Hampton could not awaken and resist when the police invaded the house to come there and assassinate him. Norm Finkelstein leaves out that Akua and Jerry, Fred Hampton's widow, was not only 8 months pregnant with Fred Jr., who's out here in the world today, but said herself that she heard the police officers acknowledge.
I'm going to forward this a little bit because there's a part I want to get to real quick. For
heard a conversation between two black women talking about how they hadn't talked in is one of the few. Why was Hutton and Cleaver being targeted? Why were the police there in the first place? Which importantly to Finkelstein, which he would never acknowledge or be aware to do, but which had their own different political and cultural bases and origins as they formed this one national party. And that the FBI was clear to use those differences to play the groups against one another. So even when he's talking about how Bobby Hutton is one of the few, why was Hutton and Cleaver being targeted? Why were the police there in the first place? Hutton wasn't even the main target. So again, he wants to say that Cleaver was someone that, and Huey Newton are people not to be properly remembered and appreciated, but at the time the state felt differently. And at the time the broader international radical or revolutionary struggles all over the world felt differently. And the state's own documents seem to indicate that they felt differently given all that was said in those documents about Cleaver and Huey Newton and Malcolm X before them and Dr. King even, and Elijah Muhammad and so many others in terms of the threat that they posed to bringing the United States, and particularly black people in the United States, into a sort of insurgent fervor that teamed up with the decolonizing movements around the world. Very lastly, even when, if I remember correctly, Finkelstein said something about Dr. King. He made a number of errors about that in recounting Dr. King. But one of the points that I always want to remind people of is that Dr. King, even at the point of the 1963 I Have a Dream speech, which many of us have over the time in our lives condemned as a soft, liberal, unimpressive moment, from the perspective of the state, William C. Self
have made that criticism, but they also point out that the point at which he was
those two groups at the end of his life. So that really, again, that's what I was saying. What also really bothers me that I want to, I mentioned Black August. What also really one of the
This is what I was trying to find that I want y'all to listen to right here. Pay attention to this part right here.
Assassinations that, of course, Finkelstein left out was, and that I did too up to this point, is that of George Jackson, who, and his brother Jonathan, for that matter, a year earlier in August of 1970. And George Jackson's assassination in 71 prompted, as Dr. Orasami Burton has been so brilliantly writing about in Tip of the Spear, what he calls the Long Attica Revolt. George Jackson's assassination prompted really the modern anti-prison movement, the modern abolition movement, the last 50 years of prison struggle and seeing the prison as a site of struggle and war, as Burton points out. And specifically that, as Burton points out, it's war conducted in prisons against prisoners in a way that's meant to relate very much in terms of technique, tactics, and strategy to how those of us supposedly outside of those walls are dealt with vis-a-vis narrative development, propaganda, psychological warfare, and military violence if necessary. So, and really what I'm just trying to say is that by diminishing, and again, I love George Jackson. He is when people say who's your favorite whatever, and people are talking about the goats of this, the goats of that, he's my goat of liberation struggle.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about why? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh, I'll happily do that, but I just wanted to think that.
Now, I'm sure she knows who George Jackson is, but she's asking him to explain why George Jackson, Blood in My Eyes, is the Bible for revolutionaries. It's the Bible because he explains in that, like, there's no hope. There's no hope in political, like, working with these politicians and working with the government. We must create our own. We must start to treat it like we are an enemy of the state. We can no longer see ourselves as free. And he was behind the jail cell, writing these books and talking like this, and they killed him from behind the jail cell. The United States government killed him while he was in prison. So when Norman Finkelstein say, like, those movements, those people were not powerful, they did not affect nothing, why would the United States government have to go into prisons and kill them? if they were not effective. I mean, he's about to go on and explain a little bit about George Jackson. But I want
another question: why would the United States government have people like Madani and Bernie running around if they were a threat?
You say that? What question is that?
To Finkelstein's argument that people like George Jackson weren't that impactful or a threat to the system.
Yeah.
But yet he's looking at Madani and Bernie as if they are that threat to the system. They aren't that threat because then they won't be running around doing anything.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But I forgot my train of thought just now. I mean, but basically, that's like I wanted to play that part, and I wanted to play the part where he explains a little bit about George Jackson, and I was going to say, I got my thought back. I was going to say I wanted to do Blood in My Eyes. I wanted to read that. That's the book that I wanted us to go through. We're doing the Philadelphia Negro now. I don't know. We might have to do Blood in My Eyes next. But in Blood in My Eyes, there's no equivocation. There's no he calls out all these black elites. He even calls out people like Jared Ball. Like they're always talking, but they're not in the communities building the organizations, which Jared Ball is going to say we need to build in our communities. This is not what none of them are doing. I mean, let me let them talk about this.
The point I'm making is that because a lot of people will find George Jackson difficult politically to side with, as I'll explain in a minute. But my point is, it's not a matter of whether we do or don't agree with him or others. The point is we have to recognize what they meant in terms of the history and to the struggle and to the fear they project.
Right is right when everybody's doing wrong, and wrong is wrong. You know what I mean? But that's what he's trying to explain right. It doesn't matter how it's not going to be. You know what? That's exactly what we started this video off with. When we was talking about for you to climb the ladder, for you to get into those spaces of white supremacy, to come closer to it, proximity to white supremacy, you can't be talking about no George Jackson. You can't be in those spaces promoting people like George Jackson, having them people like when you at work, you going to work with a George Jackson t-shirt. You have to act like you don't know who a George Jackson is. You have to act like the stuff George Jackson is saying in Blood in My Eyes is not true. That the government is here to oppress us. That there's no judge, no courthouse, nothing that's here to fight for the liberation of our people or to liberate us. This is our enemies. The government is our enemy. That is what George Jackson is saying in Blood in My Eyes. And Jared is saying this is his Bible. But that's not what he do. He work in these institutions. When he leave Morgan State, he's not building no underground railroad. He's not having political education classes. I mean, he's not organizing the people cooperatively for them to own the spaces that they're in. That's not what he's doing. He's not doing nothing George told him to do. Nothing he's doing in his life is in Blood in My Eyes. But he'll say that's the Bible. He'll cloak himself with that history, with those revolutionaries. I mean, and that's the issue that I have with him. You can't go around saying these are the people you look toward, these people you look for inspiration. When the work that you do is nothing like what they said to do, we need to do. You're not doing none of that. They're not. And if I am, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong that you're doing it. But you're not.
Or inspired among those in the ruling elite, and who were very clear about that. Now, George was someone arrested, I think, around 1950.
Now, listen, does George sound like one of those people that they was talking about in the Philadelphia Negro? Does George sound like he's one of them? Who does George sound like he's at? Because he's describing the life of George Jackson right now.
Age 17 or so for petty robberies and crimes. He's caught in California and put in. He's originally from Chicago, but he's arrested in California and given a year to life sentence that becomes a life sentence because they just kept adding time. And in prison, he becomes radicalized and becomes one of the more powerful figures in not only Soledad and San Quentin, but within the prison system, and then ultimately becomes, even from within the prison walls, was he given the Minister of Defense? I forgot the exact title he was given within the Black Panther Party. And he was seen by Huey Newton as like the only one, something like the one Huey thought was the most respectable member of the party, something like that. So,
but even with that, with what he's saying, that he explained all of that. But who was George Jackson? Who was George Jackson? Wasn't one of them rich people that the black rich people over there that was coming up with the churches and having their little thing, organization for their class. George Jackson was from the plantation. He was one of the masses. And he's saying George Jackson is who he look up to. That's who, that. But you don't follow nothing. You don't follow what George Jackson preached. Because like the ideology of George Jackson is separate from the bourgeois intellectual. The bourgeois intellectual wants to assimilate into the system, wants to be part of the system. George Jackson is saying we got to tear this thing down. Yo, we got to go block to block with tanks. That's what's inside that book. I think his brother was telling him that. Like we have to like perform counterinsurgency right here in the United States. That's what they're talking about in Blood in My House. That's not what he's not talking about none of that. He's not organizing towards that. None of that he wants to be a part of. I'm going to get to Shoopy.
Ready-to-eat meal delivery service.
There's Shoopy. Yeah, Shoopy in it.
These are not created equal.
Shoopy, got the video on Shoopy?
Everything is done from scratch every single day.
Public opinion is there. Are we participating in a kind of a, I'm speaking for myself, not Crystal, who did a great job in the interview, but like, I feel sometimes like I'm participating in a sort of like puppet show.
Yeah, this is it right here. This is the last clip I'm gonna show them right here. I'm gonna let them go through this clip right now. But I'm telling you, these people know. These people know. She knows what she's doing. They understand this system cannot be fixed. There's no reforming that can be done in this system. Instead of them organizing the masses of the people to pool their resources for us to be able to take care of ourselves, build institutions to take care of ourselves. See, because it's really that simple. It is that simple. Yeah, you're gonna go through stuff after that. This is the outside society is gonna come after you. But once you've built that, once you have the people understanding how to liberate themselves, I don't care what the outside world does. We're gonna be okay. Because the contradiction only arises when the inside, when we not good. When we don't understand what we're supposed to be doing, when there's no political education, when there's no work, there's no organizing, that's when contradiction is going to come about. I'm here, brother. You here? Come on the video. You like 2 hours late. You started at 12 o'clock. Come on the video. Holler at me. Say something to me real quick. Because I want to ask you something, Shoopy. If you're here, talk to me, Shoopy, before I finish this video right here. Put the video on and holler at me. But I'm about to play her video till Shoopy come on. And I want you to hear her. Listen to what she say, bro. Listen to what she say. Go ahead, take it off.
Like we're going through the motions of objecting. And I joke about, well, let me not get into the violence aspect of this. But go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off.
No. I was about to say something that was going to get me in trouble, so let me not. Let me not. Go ahead.
Did y'all hear what she just asked? I hope you heard it. I want to bring it back a little bit. I want you to hear it.
Children finally being printed in the New York Times. That's CYA. Let's cover your ass. It's not political movement. Alyssa Slotkin can sit there and be challenged by Crystal Ball, but she's not going to change a thing. And that's where I'm getting back to, like, what is the role of those of us who are in the Crystal Ball position? Like, yes, it seems to be their utility in exposing the contradictions and moving public opinion. But when public opinion is there, are we participating in a kind of a, I'm speaking for myself, not Crystal, who did a great job in the interview, but like, I feel sometimes like I'm participating in a sort of like puppet show. Like we're going through the motions of objecting. And I joke about, well, let me not get into the violence aspect of this. But go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off.
No. I was about to say something that was going to get me in trouble, so let me not.
Now, before they even go on, they know that they're running a scam on us. They know that voting for these politicians is not going to change anything. And the same questions I have for her, she asks herself. Like, if I saw her now, the same questions I would ask her, she already asked herself and like, already rationalized the answers to herself. She just said it. Is everything we're doing is for nothing. Because she knows it's for nothing. And she's trying to see what he's going to say. But he's going to come up with something that rationalizes their behavior. Because if he's following George Jackson, he understands none of this stuff, none of these podcasts, none of writing them books, anything is going to change the material condition of the people unless you start to build institutions and organize the people. That's the only way you change their condition. He already know that before you even about to say what he about to say.
Let me not. Go ahead.
I think it's, first of all, I think it's valuable, and I think it's important that anyone who does something akin to what we're doing here be honest about. I would prefer you be honest, or anyone be honest about what concerns they have in terms of the limited efficacy of their efforts, than not. I would certainly
be honest about the efficacy of their efforts. In other words, they be honest that none of this stuff right here, this podcast stuff, is leading to any revolution. None of the stuff they're doing is leading to anything. Hey, yo, this show that we're doing is part of the larger work that we're doing, bringing people into organizing our communities. They're not doing that. They're just coming on to have a podcast. They're not organizing. They're not tomorrow. They're not going to have programs in the community that serve the people. They're going to work. I mean, tomorrow they're not going to deal with housing, putting people in homes. They're not doing that. They're not going to take groceries to people. They're not doing none of that. All they do is get ready for them to have their next show, and then they go to their job in the institutions that pay them for them to live in the communities with white people that they live in. I guarantee you, both of them live in the upper community. They don't live in our communities. They don't live with us. They don't do none of that.
I mean, I certainly, some people do it as a joke, but it was like some people, this is the most important podcast in the history of the world. Like what I'm doing, what I'm doing is going to make the change and all these kinds of things. I'm always a little bit skeptical of people making those claims and what their analysis of because of what I was saying earlier, that there has been a meticulously evolved. I quote it all the time, despite the contradiction of mine and what would have been his politics. But when Marshall McLuhan said, "We don't know who discovered water, but we know it was not the fish, because an all-pervasive environment is always beyond perception," I have always loved that point and his approach to how we, and the way I would apply that here is that the environment is that has been constructed outside of our awareness for the most part is inviting of certain levels of disagreement. I mean, one of the exercises I use in my class all the time is just the basic agenda setting, model. I tell my students all the time, if you guess the number I'm thinking of between 1 and 10, I'll give you an A, and you can leave class and never come back. They guess, they exhaust themselves, of course, and then I say something like the number is 10,000,004, and they all say, what you said between 1 and 10, and I said, that's the point. That's how that's agenda setting right there. I told you to think between 1 and 10, Democrats, Republicans. You can have all the arguments you want. You can have all the debates. You can have all the wonderful things you say, because those will be the limits of your that are imposed on our brilliance and our imagination. And you
know what? I'm gonna leave it there. Like what he just said just now. You don't understand. You don't whoever he quoted. I don't understand who discovered water, but they knew it wasn't the fish, because the fish is inside that water. The fish doesn't understand there's another whole world out there, outside of that water. Just like us, we inside this system. We are born in this system. We are born in these institutions. We go to these schools that they have created to be able to control how we think, the languages speak, how we see each other, from the media, everything. You can't really understand it unless you step outside of it. And that's what studying and education enables you to do. Being able to read, to go back in history and read. Like, most of the time people be like, if you say I disagree with Du Bois, people look at you like you crazy. But if you go back and go read their work and read these people, what they did, you could see the contradictions. Let me listen to the conversation. Yo, Shoopy, nah, you're too late to listen to the conversation. We over. We was reading a book. I mean, I got some questions for you. I mean, you just being here is enough. I mean, so just just open your mic up so we could talk. I want to ask you some questions. But the whole conversation started from 1770. You in here 2025. It's over now. I mean, but like all of that, even if you go back to the Philadelphia Negro, what Du Bois was talking about, the people that he pointed to that were leading our people, that was leading our revolution, you could see why these people were flawed and why they were not what? They were not qualified to lead the masses of the people because they don't share the same concerns and interests of the people. Even at this level, they don't share the same concerns and struggles of the people. And that's how they started off their conversation. I mean, the bourgeois, the petty bourgeois, their reality is not the same. Their reality is not the same as our reality. I mean, so they can pontificate, they can say what they want to say, but there's limitations to what they say. And they were just talking just now, and he would say the limitations of the system, of the social construct that we live in. Hold up a second. The limitation of the social construct that we live in. You know, just imagine what is it? A mouse, a ferret, whatever they be having inside a little wheel. They create a little thing, whatever, little cage, and then they got a little ferret, a wheel in there. The ferret be running all over the wheel, running. Yo, it doesn't matter what that ferret does. It's still within that system. Because people be like, hey, yo, why they coming at Mondani? Why they coming at Bernie Sanders? If what they're doing is wrong, it's not going to help, why are the Republicans coming at them? Why is this person coming at them? Because at the end of the day, it really don't mean nothing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's all theater. They're all fish inside that pond. They didn't discover the water. They're not discovering nothing. They're just fish swimming around. A shark eat another fish. I mean, like, they're just doing fish stuff. And these politicians are just doing scammer stuff. Go ahead, you can come change it, whatever. But they're not here to serve the people. Until we take control and we start to serve ourselves, start to build the institutions that's going to do anything for us, ain't nothing going to change. That's what I learned from reading the Philadelphia Negro. Go ahead, Shupi. Put your video on. Let me see if I can holler at you real quick, man.
He's on the phone.
Oh, you on the phone? Oh, okay. That's okay. Yo, how's everything out there? Yo, they still, what you call it, still around? They still locking people up, Shupi? I don't know. If Shupi could come on, he could come on. If he can't, we got to talk, bro. You got to call me later, Shupi. I need to find out what's going on over there.
Yo,
what's going on, yo?
chilling, brothers, man. How you doing, fellas?
I'm good. Yo, everything still slow?
I can hear you well. What's up with this signal? You get good signal?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, the signal one, bro.
Oh, the signal bad?
Yeah, the signal bad.
How is it with immigration down there?
Say again?
How is immigration? They're still locking people up. Is immigration still locking people up?
Yeah, they still do it. Even yesterday morning, there was catch all the Asian kids. They took kids, little girls, like teenager babies, man. They took them from their mom. It was a lot of stress, man. It was a lot of stress. There was in Kabawiti yesterday morning.
So everything is still slow over there, huh?
Yeah, it's still slow out here, bro.
Hey, yo, this is Comrade Shubi. He's in DR right now. He has a business on the beach, and like we're trying to start a chapter down there where we started it. We're trying to grow the chapter down there. Hey, yo, did you talk to Frank?
Say again?
Did you talk to Frank?
Yeah, I talked with Frank. We got a meeting tomorrow.
Okay, so you're gonna
to figure out everything.
All right, but look, this is what I want to do. I want to start working on the floor. So you could see what he want to talk about, but see if we could get somebody to start working on the floor. You heard me?
Yeah, I'm going to meet him tomorrow and then take all the information what he wants and then found the people like who know about it well and then to fix all he wants. Figure out all the shit for the kids.
Did you speak to that mother? I gave you her telephone number. Did you speak to her?
She texts me back, and then when I text her, she don't answer me no more. But I will text her later to see what's going on.
Now, yeah, because I understand how it is. So, but she all the way in DR. She really don't know if we're really serious. So you got to be patient with her. You feel me?
I'll be texting her, bro.
I got you. Yo, good looking, man. I'm gonna call you later. You heard me?
Yeah, I listen to you.
All right. Yo, but that's our comrade Shubi out in DR. I mean, he trying to get the stuff started out there. We in conversation. Yo, hopefully by next year. I mean, like we really down there supplanted out there. But yo, thanks a lot for coming through, Shubi. Yo, anybody got anything they want to say before we sign off? Nah, we good, Shubi. That's it. That's all I wanted to ask you.
Okay. How is everybody, man? Everybody's okay?
Yeah, everybody's okay, man. Everybody's okay. I'm gonna call you later so I can send that stuff out to you tomorrow.
Okay, all right, bro.
All power to the people.
You at this side already?
I'm not with it.
This side of the Panther then. You get it? Or we gonna do it in deal?
No. I'm gonna call you later.
Okay.
All right.
Then we talk. All right, bro. Happy to talk with y'all guys.
All right.
All right.
What you wanted to say, General Secretary?
So, we're still doing our summer camp for the kids. So, if anybody wants to donate or spend time with the kids at the park, you can contact me. And we're still collecting funds to help this mother with her rental arrears. We were able to submit the first payment yesterday. So we're looking for September, October, November, and December. If you can help towards the donation, that would be great. Just contact me. Other than that, that's it.